All right, everybody. So, hello and welcome to our reading of the 1988 classic Scrooged. We have an amazing cast here tonight. Most of all, me playing the role of Frank, aka Bill Murray. We also have Clinton playing the Ghost of Christmas Past and a few other roles. We've got Jessica playing my very patient secretary, Grace, and a lot of other roles as well. We've got Rudy playing the lovable homeless man, Herman, and a bunch of other roles, including Calvin Cooley, who's Grace's son, who's kind of like Tiny Tim. We got Anne playing Claire, the woman of my dreams, who comes in. We got Logan playing Bryce Cummings, who's the LA Slimeball, who comes and steals the show. And also playing Lou Wexler, who's my dead boss, who comes back from the dead, and some other people. We got Travis playing James Cross, my brother, also played by one of Bill Murray's brothers. A little fun fact for you. We got Eric playing Elliot Loudermilk in the movie, the one and only Bobcat Goldthwait, and a lot of other roles as well, including Robert Goulet. He's gonna be Robert Goulet for us. We also have Kate doing scene description and also playing the Ghost of Christmas Present, who beats the shit out of me later on. We'll see. And some other parts as well. And then, of course, last but not least, we have Jack playing Preston, who's my current boss, I think the late, great Robert Mitchum, and also a lot of other parts, including Marlon Brando, who was not in the movie, but he plays Scrooge in the movie, which is fun. Yeah, so I think that's everybody. So, Kate, whenever you're ready, let's do this.
All right, Scrooge, A Christmas Carol. Fade up on exterior North Pole night. Establishing shot of Santa's workshop. A quaint gingerbread cottage nestled in a serene, snow-covered valley. Smoke curls from the chimney. Music is Silent Night played on a Celeste enhances the Christmas card Peace and Beauty. We move closer and isolate details. A candy-striped column marked North Pole. Below the glistening icicle-trimmed eave, silhouetted on the shade of the frost-veiled window, elves put the final touches on some toys. Tapping an extra nail, adding that last dab of paint. Reindeer nervously paw the ground, gently jangling their sleigh bells as they shake the snow from their antlers. Cheeks fat with acorns, a chipmunk scampers across the yard to his home behind the woodpile. A rusty old weather vane creaks in the breeze. All the arrows are stamped with the letter S. In the sleigh sits a huge sack overflowing with gifts, which include toy drums, big dolls, teddy bears. Backlit by the full moon, a snowy owl hoots softly and shuts his eyes. The sky sparkles with stars, but one that shines brighter than the rest. Is it the falling star? No, it's a flaming mortar shell that screams into the cottage and explodes in a teeth-jarring fireball of multiple blasts. Music changes to a standard TV action fare as gritty-voiced announcer cuts in.
7 o'clock. Psycho sees Santa's workshop, and only Chuck Norris can stop them in.
Cut to violent montage, which includes an elf knocking out a window with a gun butt, Santa slamming a clip in his assault rifle, close-up of AK-47s and M60s firing, bullets shredding a Christmas tree, bullets splintering a cuckoo clock, bullets chewing up a row of candy canes. Montage ends on Chuck Norris, poised in Road Warrior Arctic battle gear, sleeves ripped off, white bandana around his head, brandishing a flamethrower.
The night the reindeer died.
Eat this.
Chuck pulls the trigger, unloading a fountain of fire. Cut to exterior bayou. A tuxedo Bob Goulet stands in the dugout deep in the bayou. He pulls the boat while singing The Little Drummer Boy. Announcer turns syrupy.
8:30, and America's best love singer invites you to share a homestyle holiday when it's Bob Goulet's old-fashioned Cajun Christmas.
Rum rum ba da ba bum.
Cut to a gator. A hungry gator slides off the bank and heads for Bob. Back to the scene.
Me and my drum.
Cut to exterior street night. Waist-high shot of sidewalk Santa ringing a bell on a snowy street. The music is Silver Bells. Announcer is tough.
9 o'clock. Someone is killing sidewalk Santas, and only Lonnie Anderson can stop him.
On the screen, fat, jolly, and
Fat, jolly, and
Music ends as we hear the sound of a lead pipe crushing the skull off screen. Bell slips from Santa's hand and clatters to the gutter, finishing the super title with the word dead in dripping red letters.
dead.
Cut to interior Victorian parlor. John Houseman sits in a wing chair in front of a crackling fire, reading from a red leather-bound copy of Scrooge.
It was a cold, bleak Christmas Eve. The fog-draped streets of London were.
We fade out on his audio. But the announcer chimes in.
10 o'clock, IBC presents live via satellite from New York, Bethlehem, Helsinki, West Berlin, and Great Barrier Reef, Charles Dickens' immortal Christmas classic, Scrooge. Starring Marlon Brando, Barbara Streisand, former Speaker of the House Thomas Tip O'Neill, the Solid Gold Dancers, and Mary Lou Retton as Tiny Tim. Scrooge, it'll touch your very heartstrings.
Cut to interior living room, TV set with Scrooge title on the screen. A Rockwell-esque family is gathered around watching TV. Mom and Pop on the couch, Junior on the floor with his puppy and a bowl of popcorn. Their happy faces glow in the warm TV light.
Hurry up, Gramps. It's starting.
Gramps hurries to join the family.
That's right, it all starts on Christmas Eve.
We see a gleaming silver IBC network logo full frame on the TV.
Christmas Eve on IBC. You'll love it.
Interior Frank's office day. Reveal that we have been watching a TV screen in the office at IBC, the International Broadcasting Company. The lights come up, the same silver IBC logo is mounted on the wall. A table is ringed with the network executives. At one end of the table is a big TV monitor. At the other sits Frank Cross, president of IBC, who presides over the meeting. Frank is trim, polished, and good-looking. At 38, he's young for the powerful position he holds. The press still calls him a TV wonder kid. Co-workers call him the Smiling Viper. Mrs. Grace Cooley, his attractive black secretary, sits near him taking notes. This is a power office, bleak, modern, and immense. It is on the 22nd floor with a huge grid window that look down on New York City. It's designed to impress and intimidate. There's futuristic design furniture, a wall of TV monitors, a private bathroom, a small kitchen, and bar. Above the ultra-modern desk hangs a Picasso from his 1907 to 1908 African Negro period. The walls are decorated with primitive masks, the closest thing Frank has to a hobby. The massive desk is littered with Scrooge miscellaneous drawings, models, posters, swatches, etc. No one speaks. We wait for Frank's reaction. There's a few nervous coughs. Finally, Frank leans forward in the chair.
Sucks.
Yeah, something's missing. I don't know.
Wayne, a smarmy sycophant, leaps into the bandwagon.
The Chuck Norris thing was way over the top.
Chuck Norris was fine.
But somehow it worked. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's something else. It's not
Bob Goulet looked wrong. We should have lost the gator.
The Gator's great. Grace, refill.
Grace leaps for the coffee urn.
Of course, my kids love the gator.
Ted, aggressive young head of publicity, shakes his head.
It's not the Gator. It's Chuck Norris.
Thank God Scrooge works.
Scrooge stinks.
That's your problem. Scrooge.
We spend $40 million on a live TV show. We've got an ad with some old fart reading a book by a fire.
Elliot Loudermilk, a slightly nerdy junior executive, raises his hand.
Sir, we've been running that spot for a month and we're getting a terrific response.
I'm the youngest president in the history of television for only one reason. I know people.
But the people already want to watch the show.
That's not enough. They've got to be afraid to miss it. Grace, kill the lights.
The room goes black. A new TV promo begins. It's shot in high contrast black and white, scored with heavy metal, and features grit-voiced announcer number 2. Special effects, amplified heartbeat. Black screen.
Freeway killers.
Exterior, freeway night. All 5 passengers of a speeding car open up on the moving camera in a blaze of gunfire.
Arab terrorists.
Exterior, sky. A 747 explodes mid-air fireball.
AIDS.
Interior hospital corridor. Ignoring off-screen screams, a grim sun-gun-lit nurse in starched white uniforms stalks the camera, brandishing a hypodermic needle like an ice pick.
Teenage suicide?
Interior school. An off-screen gunshot splatters blood on a blackboard, which there's a childish drawing of a cat with cat scrawled underneath.
Drug-crazed maniacs?
Interior apartment. A knife-wielding intruder with a stocking pulled over his face and a Nazi armband kicks in the door and lunges for the camera.
Acid rain?
Exterior street. High angles on a shrieking mob of people trying desperately to fend off the rain that burns, smoldering their umbrellas. Exterior desert. Pre-dawn. An ominous black shape which stands in the sand like a towering mountain. Music builds.
Now more than ever, it is important to remember the true meaning of Christmas.
The off-screen rising sun illuminates the dark shape as the music builds.
Don't miss Charles Dickens' immortal classic, Scrooge!
It's evident that the shape is giant stark letters that form the title, Scrooge. The music peaks, but suddenly a blinding atomic blast shatters the letters. A mushroom cloud rises high into the sky.
Your life might just depend on it.
The camera pans down, atomic dust clears, and we reveal Candy Cane lying in the dirt. Slow dissolve to interior area outside Frank's office. Shell-shocked executives spill out of his office. Ashen, open mouth, they drift away from the meeting. Frank briskly moves through them, spitting out instructions to Ted. Grace is close on their heels. Track them as they walk down the office corridor. Illuminated posters of the other IBC shows line the hallway.
I want that run every hour on the hour.
Got it.
He peels off. Grace assumes Ted's position by Frank's side.
If standards and practices up here, I'm going to need to see Reese.
Your attorney?
No, the screamer in wardrobe, which reminds me.
Excuse me, Mr. Cross?
Elliot rushes up to them.
Sir, what exactly does that ad have to do with Scrooge?
Nothing. Why?
Well, it seems to pervert the whole spirit of Christmas. It won't make people feel good and joyous. This ad will frighten them.
It'll scare the dickens out of them.
Frank turns on his heels and heads back to his office. Grace gives Elliot a sympathetic smile and follows. Interior area outside Frank's office. They reach Grace's desk, neat and impersonal, save for the child's finger painting taped to her cubicle wall.
Grace, would you, what's the name of the kid I was just talking to? With glasses, bright kid, a lot of guts?
Elliot Loudermilk.
Yeah, Loudermilk. Would you call security, have them clean out his desk, change his locks, and pass him out of the building?
He's fired? But it's Christmas.
Thank you. Call accounting, have his bonus stopped.
Loudermilk? Code 9.
Frank points to the finger painting.
What's this?
It's a painting one of my kids did. It's either Santa and...
How many fingers does Mrs. Claus have on her left hand?
4.
On her right?
7.
He yanks it off the wall and tosses it to her.
Grace, it's crap. Lose it.
He heads back to his office.
Come in and bring your pad.
Interior Frank's office. Frank is making himself a stab when Grace enters.
Okay, let's get this over with. Read me the list.
Grace takes out a Christmas list.
Goldberg.
Cinema VHS home video recorder.
Parker.
VHS.
Kaluta.
The bath towel.
Brock.
VHS.
Forrestal.
Towel.
Whitaker.
Frank stands at the window, sipping his drink, staring moodily down at the street. It's snowing heavily.
What was the last rating on Police Zoo?
Exterior street outside the IBC building. Elliot Loudermilk stands in the snow outside the entrance, holding a tennis racket. Cardboard boxes filled with his stuff sit piled on the curb. A briefcase sails out and lands at his feet. We hear a sad violin music, Elliot's theme. Elliot looks up at the towering skyscraper and raises his fist.
I'll get you, Frank Cross, you son of a bitch!
Interior Frank's office. Grace reads the ratings for Police Zoo.
5.2 Nielsen, 7 share, and a TVQ of 3.
Towel.
Your brother?
Towel.
Frank's getting impatient. He grabs the list.
Just give me that. Towel, towel, VHS, towel. And Grace, put yourself down for a towel.
What about my bonus?
and a face cloth.
Grace answers the phone and he throws back the drink.
Mr. Cross's office. Yes, I'll tell him.
She hangs up.
Mr. Rylander's on his way down.
What? He's coming here? Jesus Christ, how do I look?
She straightens his tie and fixes his hair as he shoves the vodka bottle in the desk drawer. He then assumes an executive working pose behind the desk, jotting down notes from a copy of Sports Illustrated. Grace is about to leave when she notices the magazine is upside down. She turns it right side up and exits as Preston Rhinelander enters. Rhinelander, IBC chairman, is in his 60s with white hair and pale blue eyes. His manner is more than reserved. It's cold.
Preston, what a surprise.
He holds up the Sports Illustrated cover with Mary Lou Retton in rags and crutches on the cover.
I was just going over some of the great press we're getting on this Scrooge show. Mary Lou Retton is Tiny Tim.
Frank babbles nervously in the face of Rhinelander's stony silence.
Here's the buy. She doesn't just throw away her crutches and walk. She throws away her crutches, somersaults across the floor, vaults over a lamppost, and lands in a full twisting.
Rhinelander leans across the desk.
Frank,
Yes?
do you know how many cats there are in this country?
No, not,
27 million. Do you know how many dogs?
in America.
48 million. We spend $4 billion on pet food alone.
Frank stalls for time, unable to grasp what his boss is driving at.
4 billion.
I know this must sound crazy, Frank, but I have here a study from Hempstead University showing that cats and dogs are starting to watch television. If these scientists are right, we have got to begin programming for them now. In 20 years, they could be steady viewers.
Programming for cats.
Listen, I'm not saying build an entire show around animals. All I'm suggesting is that we occasionally throw in a little pet appeal, some birds, a squirrel.
Mice?
Exactly, mice. Remember Kojak and his lollipops? How about a cop who dangles string? That's his gimmick. Lots of quick, random movement. Frank, wasn't there a dormouse in Scrooge?
No, but now that you mention it, I always felt it needed a dormouse.
Better yet, dormice. Walk with me.
Interior elevator bang. Frank and Rhinelander enter.
Frank, this show is the jewel in the IBC crown. Everything is riding on it.
Preston, I'm personally overseeing every stage of this project. We'll own Christmas.
Rhinelander steps into an up elevator.
That's all I wanted to hear. Lunch tomorrow? 21?
Sounds great.
As the doors close on Rhinelander, the doors of another elevator open and Bryce Cummings steps out. Tan, sharp, and yuppie handsome. He sees Frank and smiles winningly.
Hi, Frank. Bryce Cummings. We met at Spago.
Yeah, right.
He turns to go.
Have you seen Preston?
Frank turns back.
He just went back upstairs.
Oh, I just dropped by to say hello. See, I went to school with the big guy's son.
Great.
Bryce steps back inside the elevator.
Hey, look, give me a call when you hit the coast.
The doors close on him. Interior Grace's area outside Frank's office dusk. Frank blows past Grace.
Get me a full report on Bryce Cummings.
You're due at the Helmsley Palace in 5 minutes. Can I ask you?
Not now.
I can't stay late tonight. I got to take my little boy to the doctor's.
I suggest you get to work on that report.
But I made this appointment.
Because the sooner you're done, the sooner you can leave.
Couldn't I just...
Here's a problem. I'm sure there are lots of younger, whiter secretaries who would just love your job. Loud and clear.
Yes, sir. Your brother's waiting for you inside.
Interior Frank's office. His younger brother, James Cross, has been sitting in the office watching it all. James is a lanky, decent-looking fellow. He renovated brownstones, which explains why he's wearing paint-flecked jeans and a beat-up shaggy dog sweater.
Hey, Francis, you were a little tough on her, you know. What they say, if you treat people badly on the way up...
Yeah, you can also treat them badly on the way down. It's great. You get 2 chances to treat them badly. Listen, I'm out of here.
Exterior, IBC Building, Park Avenue. James and Frank make their way through a heavy holiday crowd. James rubbernecks oohing at the sights. Frank just plows through.
I really like this time of year. Even in New York, people are nicer to each other. I saw a cab driver help an old lady with her packages. Well, actually, it wasn't an old lady. It was more like a young teenage hooker, but he did get out and help her with her packages.
Exterior Rockefeller Center, Fifth Avenue.
Wow, look at that tree.
Frank walks on, completely oblivious.
You don't like Christmas, do you?
A crowd is gathered around singing carolers at Salvation Army Band, blocking the sidewalk.
Like it? I love it. It's cold. People are home watching TV. Ad revenues jump 30%. I'm the biggest fan Christmas ever had. Jesus thinks these idiots could take up more room. Any chance you can make it for Christmas dinner? You can finally see my...
Pointless life?
Hey, back off. What's the problem? I have friends, a wife, and a wife I'm crazy about.
Fine. You have your dinner with your concerned and involved friends, okay? Send each other Christmas cards and recycled paper and string real popcorn and real cranberries for the real tree and babble out the priceless gift of sharing and kids with their eyes big as teacups and squeeze toys for the dog and, oh, honey, it's just what I always wanted. This is the most wonderful Christmas ever, but James, count me out.
Interior Helmsley Palace dining room. Pan down past the Archbishop and Mayor Cockholding on Frank, who speaks at a podium.
And he asks, what's old, wrinkled, and hangs out your shorts?
Angle on the Archbishop, glancing at Frank apprehensively. Angle on Frank.
The answer, of course, your mother.
Angle on Archbishop, bursting into laughter. Angle on the audience. New York's power elite laughing from their tables. Angle on Frank.
But seriously, we are, when it comes right down to it, one big family. I got into broadcasting because I care about people. Sometimes I care a little too much, and that hurts. But I never forget something the Beatles once said. The love you take is equal to the love you make.
He holds up the trophy of a man leading a small boy by the hand.
Thank you.
Wide angle revealing a big banner behind him which reads Humanitarian of the Year.
I will always cherish this award.
Exterior, El Subway Station, night. Grace and Calvin, Grace's 5-year-old son, descend the stairs from the elevated and head towards their street. Exterior, Grace's project building. Grace and Calvin walk hand in hand towards their graffiti-scarred project. They go inside and head up the stairs. Feliz Navidad drifts out of the ground floor apartment. IBC building night. The cab pulls up to the IBC entrance. Frank wordlessly gets out and walks into the building, leaving the humanitarian award in the seat. We follow him past the 2 IBC security guards manning the security systems console, past the display for Scrooge, across the vast marble lobby to the elevator bank. Frank pushes the elevator button, the doors silently open, and he enters as they close behind him. Grace's apartment. Grace stands in her shabby hallway, fumbling with her front door keys. Before she can unlock it, the door flies open. Shasta and Randy, the 7-year-old twins, wrap themselves around her legs, squealing with joy. Mama's home, Mama's home.
Mama's home.
A velvet painting of Martin Luther King hangs over a cardboard fireplace. Age-worn Christmas decorations and a peculiar nativity scene which includes He-Man, Starlight, and Care Bear brings some cheer to the dreary living room. The apartment is little cramped for a family of 4. Unfortunately, there are 9 living there. Randy runs over to Calvin, pulling him aside. As Grace enters, Stephen, her 15-year-old dreadlock son, bounds in from the kitchen, his younger sister, Linnell, on his heels.
Hi, Mom.
Stephen takes Calvin's coat and leads him over to the couch.
Calvin, come here, man. Sit down.
Calvin stares blankly.
So, what's happening? Everything okay? You want to play catch?
He tosses a sponge ball to Calvin, who fails to react. It bounces off his chest.
Stupid. He doesn't want to play catch. He wants to play She-Ra, Princess of Power.
She dances into the She-Ra doll up Calvin's leg. He doesn't respond. Frank's office. Frank exits the elevator. He unlocks the door to his office, walks in, switches on the lights, and locks the door behind him. Frank takes off his coat, triggers the wall of TVs, and heads to the bar. We catch the tail end of an ad and start another IBC Christmas show. We see on TV exterior ocean floor, a nativity scene at the bottom of the ocean with fish swimming through the crush. John Denver's Calypso plays. Super title on screen, Jacques Cousteau's Christmas Beneath the Sea. The TV continues off screen while we watch Frank settle in. He loosens his tie, he stirs his drink. The flickering light from the TV screens makes the mass seem to come alive. Interior, Grace's kitchen. Grandma, a loony Coco Taylor type blues mama, sets bowls of food down on the kitchen table. Grace comes out of her bedroom, drying her hair with an IBC towel. Shasta holds on Grace's robe.
What's for dinner, Grandma?
Wheaties and olives.
Again?
Honey, after Calvin's doctor bills are paid, we're lucky to afford that.
I know, Mom, but look, how about just the Wheaties?
Or olives. Linnell enters the kitchen.
Shasta, Stephen needs you right now.
Shasta skips out the door.
So what did the doctor say?
Same as all the others. He's going to need special treatment. It's going to take a lot of money.
Grandma pours milk over the cereal and olives.
I don't see what all the fuss is about. Calvin's a sweet child. He's just a little shy.
Mom, he hasn't spoken a word in 4 years.
Well, he's got a lot on his mind. He's a thoughtful little boy.
Grandma, face it. He's catatonic.
Catatonic, honey.
Did he give you the bonus?
Yeah, I'm drying my hair with it.
Peals of high-pitched laughter erupt from the living room.
What are they up to?
Yeah, just trimming the tree.
We don't have a tree.
Interior living room. Grace races to find Calvin wearing red and green PJs, standing in the coffee table. He's covered with tinsel, strings of blinking lights, dangling ornaments, and a shiny silver star is stuck on his forehead.
Oh no, kids, get that stuff off him.
But Mom, he looks so pretty.
Even better than last year.
Yeah, but still.
Someday we will get a real Christmas tree.
Interior Frank's office. On TV, Denver continues to sing Calypso over the shot of underwater manger with fish. Drink on one hand, cigarette in the other. Frank shouts into the phone, cradled on his shoulder.
No, that won't do. Heat wave or no heat wave. You guys promised me the world's biggest snowman. No, I'm not coming to Helsinki to see Hedwig. The ice getting goose. I don't give a fuck how fast she skates.
The intercom buzzes.
Get back to me. What?
Mr. Cross, visitor on the way up.
Hold it. I didn't authorize any visitor.
Interior IBC lobby at the same time. The IBC guard talks to Frank on the phone.
Excuse me, sir?
You told me you sent somebody up.
No, sir. No one's gone up. Must be a crosswire.
Well, fix it.
Yes, sir. Right away.
He hangs up.
Who's that?
Defer. Sounds like he's hitting the bottle pretty hard tonight.
They don't see the floor indicator lights change as the elevator rises and stops on the 22nd floor. Interior area outside Frank's office. We see the door to Frank's office. Off-screen elevator doors open and we hear ominous dragging footsteps. Interior Frank's office. There's a knock at the door. Frank presses the intercom.
Who's there?
He gets no answer. Puzzled, he unlocks the door and steps out in the hall. The hall is empty. He comes back inside and bolts the door. Immediately, knocking starts, loud and getting louder, cracking the plaster, rocking the frame, denting the door itself. The pounding stops.
Who's there?
The door explodes off its hinges, sailing across the room. The force of the blast knocks Frank to the floor. Frank stumbles to his feet, bleeding from a cut on his cheek. The room is in shambles. As the dust settles, we see a man standing in the smoldering doorway, or what's left of a man. It's Lou Wexler, Frank's ex-boss and mentor at IBC. He wears rotting golf togs complete with checkered pants, tasseled shoes, and a robin's egg blue alpaca sweater. And he drags a big, bulky golf bag crammed with clubs. Lou is a decaying corpse, a Rick Baker nightmare with moss growing on him and a mouse hole on his forehead.
Hey, Frank. Mind if I help myself to a drink?
Swinging a rusted putter, Lou ambles across the room to the bar and pours himself a scotch. His golf shoes click on the parquet. Frank is not easily rattled. He opens the door and pulls out a revolver. Holding a gun police style with both hands, he empties it into Lou's back. 5 shots hit him with a dull thick, kicking up a little dust. It's like shooting an old pillow. The other shot shatters the glass of scotch. Lou turns around holding the broken glass.
Don't mind if you hit me, Frank, but take it easy on the doors.
He turns back and to make himself a new drink. Frank drops the gun. Now he's rattled. Lou raises his glass in a toast.
To old times.
And downs it. The scotch cascades out the holes in his throat and forms a puddle at his feet. Frank steps forward, recognizing him.
Oh my God, it's
Lou Wexler, your old boss, and your best friend
but you're dead.
for 7 years.
Frank stalls as he moves across the room toward a red panic button security alarm near the door.
Has it been 7 years? Gosh, looking at you, I wouldn't say more than 3 tops.
You're in big trouble, Frank.
Frank edges closer to the button. A white mouse peeks out of the hole in Lou's skull.
Well, let's just say for argument's sake that you're right, that I am in big trouble. What exactly would that mean, Lou?
Well, unless you change your ways, you'll be doomed as I am to wander the earth forever.
Doomed to wander the earth. What do you do there in hell, Lou? Watch Masterpiece Theater?
Lou moans menacingly. Frank lunges for the button and slams it. Interior IBC lobby. At the console, a shrill alarm and flashing red light go off. IBC guard 1 switches off the alarm and answers the phone.
Yes, sir.
Help! Help!
Interior Frank's office. Frank babbling into the intercom.
There's something up here. He broke down my door. He's a corpse with a mouse.
Interior IBC lobby. The guard rolls his eyes.
He's threatening me. He's scaring me.
Interior office.
He's
Setting fire to my Picasso?
he's setting fire to
Frank jerks to look at Lou, who's holding his Picasso.
Picasso.
The Picasso spontaneously bursts into flames. Interior IBC lobby.
We're on our way.
He
What do you think?
hangs up.
Let him sleep it off.
Interior Frank's office. Lou rubs his forehead.
Such a headache. You got any Tylenol?
Frank is beating at the smoldering painting with his hands.
You know what this is worth?
The mouse jumps out of the hole and the hole perched on Lou's shoulder.
Your life? You forgot what a precious thing life is. Worth more than even a Picasso.
Lou addresses a golf ball with his putter.
1 minute I'm standing on the 14th hole at Wingfoot, lining up a putt. Heart attack later, I'm a worm feast.
Come on, Lou. You're not a worm feast. You're a hallucination. I know. I've been drinking too much.
We see a close-up of the white mouse.
I'm under a lot of pressure with this whole.
Silence! I had it all. Captain of industry, feared by men, adored by women.
Adored. Let's be honest. You paid for the women.
Frank dabs the cut on his cheek with his handkerchief.
I've come to warn you. Don't waste your life as I did mine.
Waste? How can you say that? The man who invented the miniseries. You're a legend in this business.
Mankind should have been my business. Charity, mercy, kindness, love. That should have been my business. Frank, for your own sake, wake up. Get involved.
The mouse scampers back to his hole.
It's too late for me, but you can still save yourself. You'll be visited by 3 ghosts. Expect the first tomorrow afternoon at 1 o'clock.
Yeah, tomorrow's bad for me, Lou. In fact, this whole week's no good. Why don't we take a lunch on
Lou lurches forward, backing Frank up against a wall.
not Monday, Tuesday's out. How about drinks Wednesday? You, me, the ghosts, say Trader Vic's around 4.
Lou suddenly grabs him by the throat. With frightening strength, he lifts him off his feet and carries him effortlessly across the floor towards the windows.
Or tomorrow's fine. I could squeeze you in any time. Say break.
Lou thrusts him through the window without breaking the glass and holds him kicking in the air 22 stories above the street. In a low angle, we see one of Frank's shoes come off and plummet toward the pavement.
This isn't a joke, Frank. This is your last chance.
Exterior window. Frank is crazy with fear, clutching Lou's arm for all he's worth.
I believe you. I believe.
But the arm begins to give way. The sleeve rips, the bone splinters, the flesh pulls apart.
Oh, God, please don't. No.
The arm comes off his hand. He's falling, hurtling towards the street. Match cut to interior Frank's office, same time. Frank sails through the air, slamming to his leather chair. He jolts awake. Panicked, gasping with terror and confusion, he takes in the office. It's completely intact. No trace of the nightmarish Lou Wexler at all. The Picasso hangs unharmed. The door is undamaged. Even the cut on his cheek is gone. Frank runs to the phone, frantically dialing.
Dr. Rosenblum.
Hello, this is Dr. Rosenblum. I'm unavailable right now, but if you leave your name and number, I'll return your call at my earliest possible convenience. Until then, remember that life is like an elevator with an up button and a down button. It's up to you which one you push.
This is Frank Cross, goddammit. I need to talk to you right now. I need to talk to somebody. I think I'm having a nervous...
The beep cuts him off. He slams the phone down and scrambles across the room to his desk. Yanking the drawer out completely, he dumps the contents onto the floor. Frank grabs a leather address book stamped business and wildly tears through the densely filled pages, including countless business cards paper-clipped to the edges. He tosses it aside and snatches a matching address book stamped personal. As he flips through it, we see the pages are blank. He throws it aside and digs into the pile of papers, letters, finally pulling out a ragged scrap of paper. Close on the paper, a ripped paperback cover of The Hobbit. He turns it over. We see written on the other side, "For my precious, love, Claire." Angle on Frank. Dialing the phone number, we hear the phone ring several times and finally picked up. Electronic tones.
243-3092 has been disconnected. 243-3092 has been disconnected. If you require further...
Frank hangs up and quickly dials information.
Yes, for Claire Phillips. PHI in Manhattan. Try downtown. Okay, that's it.
He hangs up and immediately dials the number.
Hi,
Claire, it's me.
this is Claire. I've gone sailing. Leave a message and I'll call you right back. Merry Christmas.
It's Frank Cross. I know it's been 15 years since we spoke, but I didn't know who else to... Something just happened, or maybe I don't know. I really need to talk to you. It's urgent. Please call me as soon as you get this. My number is area code 212-877-4191. That's 877-41.
The phone machine beep cuts him off. He slowly hangs up. His gaze sweeps the quiet office. He walks to the door and runs his hand along the door frame, trying to convince himself that it was only a hallucination. After a moment, he shrugs and turns for the bar. His legs suddenly shoot out from under him and he crashes hard to the floor. The object he slipped on bounces off the wall and rolls back to him. Frank picks it up. Close on, what he holds in his trembling hand, a golf ball. With advanced track, we hear the voice of Jacob Marley.
Mark well this morning. You may yet have a chance and hope of escaping my fate.
Dissolve to interior Scrooge's bedroom in Studio 8H. Tip O'Neill as Jacob Marley and Marlon Brando as Scrooge rehearse their scene for that night's performance.
Leave me, spirit. Haunt me no more.
We hear a sawing off screen.
Rehearsal in progress. Keep it down.
The sawing stops.
Go ahead, Marley.
For your own sake, Ebenezer, remember what has passed between us and shun the path I've tread.
Interior Frank's office morning. Reveal that we are watching this on the monitor in Frank's office. TV continues in the background. Frank is sitting on his desk staring at the front page. Ted stands behind him. Angle on the New York Post front page. The headline reads, IBC kills old woman. Beneath it is a black and white photo of a sweet-faced granny.
Apparently, this 80-year-old grandmother was watching your Scrooge promo ad and just keeled over. It scared her to death.
On TV, Marley rattles his chains and moans.
Like I knew that ad worked. You can't buy publicity like this.
He spins in his chair, facing Ted.
Okay, here's what you do. You run the same ad every half hour, and you stick a warning at the top telling everyone with a heart condition to leave the room. This is terrific.
Grace rushes over.
I have the report you wanted on.
Read it.
Bryce Cummings, 27, graduated top of class at UCLA, made a name in live TV sports, won 3 Emmys for Olympics, 1 Emmy for Super Bowl, made vice president.
I know all that.
He snatches the report from her, scanning it.
Give me some dirt, drugs, booze, guys. What's his problem?
What do you want me to tell the reporters downstairs?
Frank balls up the Bryce resume and flings it into the trash.
Let me think.
He gets up, walking to the window.
Okay, Grace, take this down. We at IBC are shocked and appalled by this tragedy.
He puts his hand on his hip, deep in thought.
A network is made up of people, ordinary Americans like you or me. It's only through caring for each other.
In other words, the standard statement.
Yeah, but make it Christmassy.
Interior IBC TV Studio 8H. Tight shot of an aged carved sign that reads Scrooge and Marley. A hand comes into the shot holding an aerosol spray can. A blast of brown paint hits the sign's border. Camera cranes up to reveal the 19th century London street being created. Carpenters hammer frantically building the Scrooge set. A Pulitzer's storefront is hoisted into place. The grocer's stall stocked with fake produce. The windows of the toy store sprayed with frost. Technicians snake cables to the set, dodging painters and carpenters. Ted runs over to Frank, who's revealing off orders to Grace.
We've got a real situation downstairs. There must be 400 protesters.
What's their problem?
They blame us for killing that old lady.
Get the cops and clear them out.
That's really not the best PR here, sir.
Okay, tell them we share their concern that the executive responsible has been fired.
What executive?
Elliot Loudermilk, of course, and tell them, even better, find a spokesman and I'll meet with him personally.
Ted turns to go. Frank grabs his arm.
Pick somebody small and old.
Dour lady censor comes over with the sexy gold dancer in tow. The dancer wears a terry robe over her shoulders.
She's not going in the air.
Why not? Did you set up my shrink appointment for 1 o'clock?
You've got that lunch with Mr. Reinmuller.
Then make it for after lunch in my office.
Frank turns back to the lady censor.
I'm sorry, but standards and practices can't allow this costume on air.
What's wrong?
A prop man balancing a fake Victorian street lamp on his shoulder totters through.
Watch your backs.
Well, specifically, you can see her nipples.
I want to see her nipples. America wants to see her nipples.
But it's a Christmas show.
Frank rips the robe from the dancer's shoulders, revealing a sheer sequins chimney sweep outfit. The prop man stops dead in his tracks, swinging around for an eyeful.
Charles Dickens would have wanted to see her nipples.
Frank notices the panting prop man.
Hey, what are you looking at?
Sorry.
He whips around, slamming the censor in the back of the head with the lamppost. She drops out of frame.
Frank? Or Lumpy?
The big romantic music sting. Frank turns to see Claire Phillips, a striking woman in her early 30s. She's out of breath, her face flushed, secondhand coat buttoned wrong, her hat askew.
I'm sorry. I didn't get your message this morning. I called your office, but they said you weren't in yet. So then I called later, and then they said you were busy, and I decided to,
She stops, really seeing him for the first time.
Boy, you look different.
Yeah, well, it's been a while.
It's your hair. Never seen you with short hair before. It makes you look so grown up.
Frank, check this out.
Roush's rock track fills the studio. Angle on the solid gold dancer wearing spiked heels and the sheer costume, gyrating to the music. The fake snow falls. Back to the scene, Frank kneels by the fallen lady censor. She lies on the floor, dazed and groggy, as the IBC nurse bandages her head.
That works. You just had to see it in context.
Is she gonna be all right?
Oh, yeah, she's a pro.
What about you? You sounded like you'd seen a ghost.
Oh, you mean that phone call last night? I ran across your number, so I just thought I'd check in and see how you were doing.
Burly prop man walks over, waiting a few feet away.
I know you, and I know that voice. That was the frightened Lumpy that I heard.
The prop man steps up to Frank, holding the wriggling live mouse in a hand and a pair of tiny antlers in the other.
Excuse me, Lumpy?
Mr. Cross.
Sorry. I just started here. I didn't...
What?
Sir, we're having a hell of a time gluing antlers on these mice. We tried crazy glue. We tried...
Try staples.
Prop man looks at the mouse, shrugs, and exits.
Anyhow, listen, I apologize for calling so late. I hope I didn't wake your husband or...
No problem. I'm single.
They look at each other for a moment. Tip O'Neill rushes past, still in his Marley makeup.
Was that Tip O'Neill who just walked by?
Yeah.
I wonder if he'd remember me.
You've met him?
Oh, I chained myself to his bumper.
Still trying to save the world.
Still trying to ruin it. Or run it.
Get the hell out of here.
But you called me.
Who are you?
Claire turns to see Calvin, Grace's little boy, peering from behind the Poultier display window.
How'd you get in here?
Frank grabs Calvin by the collar. The little boy stares mutely at him.
Fine, don't talk to me. Talk to the police.
He hauls Calvin out of the store.
Security.
Grace dashes into the room.
Wait, no, that's my little boy.
Well, what's he doing here?
I thought it'd be fun for him to see a real live.
This is a network, not a daycare center. Keep him out of the way.
Grace leaves with Calvin.
Why are you so angry?
Can't you button your coat?
Embarrassed, Claire fumbles with the coat, rebuttoning it.
Sorry, I was in a hurry.
It's still buttoned wrong.
No, just come here.
Frank starts buttoning her coat. It's the first time he's touched her in 15 years, and he realizes it.
Your eyes are so green.
I got those new tinting contacts. They look stupid, right? You can see the brown in the...
No, they look...
Loud hammering off screen.
You think you could do that later?
Dad hustles over.
Frank, I found your spokesman.
Frank, Zulu Nation on line 1.
Listen, I better go.
Tell him to hold.
Frank and Claire look at each other.
Frank, what did happen last night?
Oh, something I ate, a bad clam. I don't know.
Well, if it ever happens again, give me a call.
She looks at him for a moment and leaves. He watches her walk away. The hammering resumes. Frank glances at the card. It reads, Operation Reach Out, Claire Phillips, Director, 514 West 43rd Street, 975-1440.
Excuse me, Mr. Cross?
Frank pockets the card as he wheels on the small, elderly man standing beside him.
Oh, you. I know what you're going to say. It's my fault. Well, let me ask you something. What about the 100 million people who watched that ad and didn't die? What about them?
I don't think...
That's right. You don't think.
Frank.
Not now. I'm running a business here. I'm just trying to get people to watch my show. Sometimes I got to slap them in the face just to get their attention.
Frank.
Get away. People want to see car bombs. People want to see death squads and drug wars. They want to see 747 slam into a mountain and mudslides and heads on poles. Am I right or am I crazy?
Jeez, I don't know, man. I'm from the cab company. One of our drivers found us in the back seat.
He hands Frank the Humanitarian of the Year trophy.
Stop that goddamn hammering!
Frank!
Frank turns to see Ted standing with a sweet white-haired nun holding a picket sign that reads, Merry Christmas, not Scary Christmas. She stares at Frank in horror.
I'd like you to meet Sister Mary Margaret from the Concerned Viewers of America.
I said knock it off!
The carpenter looks up from his work and shrugs.
Okie dokie.
The support he had been bracing snaps, set a chain reaction, which caused the entire set to crash to the floor in a cloud of dust. Angle on the lady sensor. Her head is wrapped in gauze, looking helplessly until the last flat inevitably topples towards her. Dissolve to interior restaurant. The wood-paneled conservative restaurant is crowded with New York's business elite. Frank and Preston Rhinelander sit at the power table set for 3.
So how's everything going?
Couldn't be better.
Can I get you gentlemen something from the bar?
Yes, I'll have a highball.
Make that 2.
The head waiter exits.
Did you hear from the embassy?
Everything's fine. We'll be cutting back and forth between Scrooge and our studio, Leroy Neiman painting the Berlin Wall, and the Holy Father blessing the Zulu Nation.
That's just the point, Frank. I'm worried you're spreading yourself a little thin. So I've taken the liberty of hiring somebody to work with you.
Great.
I knew you'd be pleased.
Couldn't be more pleased. Who is it?
Rhinelander calls out to someone across the room.
Bryce?
Standing in the doorway, Bryce Cummings waves acknowledgingly and strides to the table.
Well, we meet again.
He shakes Fran's hand and sits.
Frank, I know this is coming at you pretty fast, but I want to understand why my only function here is just take some of the burden off your shoulders.
Frank looks at Bryce to Rhinelander, totally confused.
I mean, a lot of men in your position would see me as a threat. I mean, it's only natural.
Stunned and speechless, Frank can only watch Bryce babble on. The clock strikes 1. Frank stiffens, remembering Lou Wexler's warning.
You'll be visited by 3 ghosts. Expect the first at 1 o'clock.
Frank jerks to look at the grandfather clock in the corner. It reads 1.
But when Preston hired me this morning as sort of a consultant, I suppose you'd call it. I said to him, consider me just one of the team.
Frank looks down at his digital watch. It also reads 1 o'clock.
You know, my lacrosse coach had a saying that I thought was really stupid at the time.
Frank nervously scans the restaurant, searching for Lou's promised apparition.
He used to say, there is no I in team.
The head waiter arrives, serving them their drinks. Frank reaches for his. Close up on Frank's glass. A human eyeball, bloody veins trailing behind it, floats in the glass. Back to scene. He screams.
Ah!
I'm sorry. I thought you ordered an eyeball. I'll take it away.
The waiter immediately snatches the glass and walks to the kitchen. The other businessmen in the restaurant stare at Frank, muttering, shaking their heads. Rhinelander reaches across the table, grabbing Frank's wrist.
Don't fall apart on me now, Frank.
Beads of sweat form on Frank's brow.
No, I'm just a little. Your lacrosse coach said what?
Point is, Frank.
The head waiter returns to Frank's table.
Excuse me. Are you gentlemen ready to order?
In the background over Rhinelander's shoulder, we see a waiter bring a baked Alaska to another table.
Right. Yes, I'll have the mixed grill.
Bobby, how's the rack of lamb today?
Excellent choice. Sir?
At the other table, a waiter sets the match to the baked Alaska and explodes into flames. Only Frank can see this.
May I suggest a veal chop?
No veal.
No one else in the restaurant takes the slightest notice of the Human Torch waiter as he reels shrieking through the room. Frank forces his attention back to the table, trying to ignore the newest nightmare.
I'll have the
head waiter, Bryce and Rhinelander, exchange curious and worried looks. The fireball waiter runs into the kitchen screaming.
I'm gonna step outside. I could use some air.
Frank knocks over his chair as he stumbles from the room.
He's under a lot of pressure. I'm sure he'll do just fine.
Exterior restaurant afternoon. Frank reels out the door. He spots a battered checker cab and hails it. The taxi pulls over.
Take me to...
Interior taxi. The door locks, slams shut. Window bars fly into place. We hear the sound of heavy bolts being thrown. Frank is trapped.
What the hell is...
The cab rockets from the curb, knocking Frank to the floor. The cabbie laughs wildly as he swings a U-turn in the opposing traffic. Exterior street. The cab narrowly avoids a head-on collision. Interior taxi. Fighting the G-forces, Frank leans forward.
Look out!
Relax, Frank. Enjoy the ride.
How do you know my name?
I know everything, Frank. I'm the ghost.
The cabbie's head turns, exorcist-like, to stare at Frank. He's an albino imp, snow-white shoulder-length hair, ghost-white skin, pointy ears, and red-tinged eyes. He grins demonically, flashing sharp little teeth. Frank looks at the hack license on the dashboard. Beneath the cabbie's grinning picture, it reads, Ghost of Christmas Past. With the cabbie still staring at Frank, the cab runs a red light. 2 cars skid to miss a pileup.
Listen, this is great. It's such a nice day. I can get out here and walk.
The cabbie floors it. Exterior street. Elliot has just exited a liquor store with a new bottle of Rebel Yell. He cracks the top, licks his lips, and is just about to enjoy a sip when the taxi jumps the curb, screams down the sidewalk, and the cabbie snags the bottle from his hand. As it roars off in the distance, Elliot is left spinning. Interior taxi. Frank pounds frantically on the windows, yanking on the doors to no avail.
Are you crazy?
The cabbie takes a big swig from the bourbon.
Here's the thing, Frank. I'm a ghost. I'm dead. I just don't care.
He tosses the bottle out the window where it smashes on the pavement.
Mind if I smoke?
Black smoke churns out his mouth, nose, and ears, filling the cab. Frank doubles over, choking in the back seat. The taxi shoots through a cloud of steam, suddenly appearing right in the path of Saturday Evening Post truck. Exterior suburban subdivision night in 1957. The truck swerves just in time.
Go back to Jersey, you moron.
Interior taxi night. Frank picks himself up off the back seat of the floor.
Where are we?
When are we is the question.
Close on the meter as the clock ticks from 1957 to 1956.
Please take me home.
You got it.
With a nasty chuckle, he hits the gas. Exterior, another suburban street. The checker tears down the quiet tract house lined street and skids into the back of a delivery truck parked in front of the only house on the block without Christmas lights. The meter registers 1955. Painted on the back of the truck, Cross Butcher's Shop. Exterior taxi. The cabbie jumps out and opens Frank's door. Frank falls out crawling from the cab.
Welcome home.
Oh my God, this is where I grew up. I thought they tore this place down.
They did.
Frank slowly gets to his feet.
Right. Okay, I know the deal. I'm gonna go back in time, see mom and dad, get all goosey and start blubbering. Well, you got the wrong guy.
The cabbie and Frank start walking through the snow to the house.
That's exactly what Attila the Hun said. But when he saw his mom.
Yeah, save it for the Donahue show. Can we get this over with?
They reach the front door.
Follow me.
He takes Frank's hand, and as he steps right through the solid wooden door, Frank smacks hard into it, bouncing back on the stoop. The cabbie giggles hysterically from inside as Frank stumbles to his feet.
That was a dumb joke.
The cabbie pokes his head through the closed door.
Made me laugh.
Call the cops on us.
The cabbie opens the door, letting Frank into the bare foyer.
Calm down. They can't see us and they can't hear us. They're not real. They're sort of like reruns.
Interior Frank's parents' living room. This is the bleak, no-frills, working-class 50s tract house. Little Frank sits inches from a B&W Magnavox TV set, watching the end of Howdy Doody. The show's theme and end credits roll. Doris, Frank's mother, is pregnant with James. She lies on the couch, chain-smoking Chesterfields and frowning over her crossword puzzle magazine. Earl, Frank's big barrel-chested father, still wearing his blood-stained butcher apron, comes over and turns down the TV volume. He towers over little Frank.
Here, Francis, I've got something for you.
Choo-choo train?
Nah, it's 10 pounds of veal. Merry Christmas.
He drops a butcher-wrapped lump on the floor beside his son. Little Frank looks at it sadly.
I asked Santa for a choo-choo.
Go out and get a job and buy a choo-choo.
Doris glances up from her puzzle.
Earl, he's only 4.
All day I hear excuses why people don't want to work. My back aches, my legs hurt, I'm only 4. The sooner he learns the don't hand your life on a silver platter, the better.
Little Frank silently returns to the TV set, turning up the volume. Sergeant Bilko begins. Little Frank watches, mouth open, totally zoned.
What's a 4-letter word for affection? Begins with L.
Who cares?
Exterior Frank's parents' house. Frank and Cabby exit the house.
So you spent the next 15 years sitting on your ass, alone, watching TV.
That's not true. I did things. I played baseball. I remember back in 7th grade, I hit a home run and won the big game.
No, you didn't.
All right, I'm sorry. That was a TV show I saw, The Court of Betty's Father.
We're out of here.
There was this time I ran through all these wildflowers and the sky was blue. The sun was streaming down.
Frank,
Wrong again. That was Little House on the Prairie.
face it. Garden slugs get more out of their life than you did.
Can I go back to the office now?
Hop in.
They get in and the taxi peels off to the night, close on the taxi meter. Ticking away years from 1955 to 1967, we hear off-screen the sound effects of a taxi skidding through the corners, bashing fenders, then horn honking, the cabbie cursing, etc. Exterior, IBC building, day, in 1968. The checker swerves up to the curb, slamming on the 68 Cadillac limo. Interior, IBC main office. Close on sheets of paper sliding from a Xerox machine, copied on each sheet of a B&W image of of a woman's behind. Pull back to reveal Tina, a cute young secretary perched on the Xerox glass, panties around her ankles and bottle of champagne in her hand. She giggles with an IBC page on the copier's light passes beneath her. Widened to see wild IBC office party in full swing. A banner hung across the room reads, Cool Yule 68. Lou Wexler, in his prime and wearing a red alpaca sweater, kisses a sexy girl dressed as a mini-skirted Mrs. Claus. Rowdy IBC staff sing, dance, drink, and cut loose as Phil Spector's Christmas album blares from a stereo. The far door opens and young Frank, now about 20 with long hippie hair, wheels his IBC mail cart to the room, oblivious to the party. He takes handfuls of mail and carefully but efficiently tosses it in the appropriate slot. Present-day Frank and Cabby watch from a doorway. Lou breaks free of Mrs. Claus and saunters over to young Frank. He takes a sip from his scotch and watches young Frank diligently at work.
Fred?
Frank, sir.
Frank, didn't happen to notice the big Christmas party around here, did you?
Yes, sir. I'm almost done.
Tina skips over and hands Lou her Xerox copy.
Thanks, Tina. We've all seen your Christmas card. Hey, Lou, the beer's getting warm. Where's the ice?
Hey, want to dance?
Oh, no thanks. I think I'll just finish up and head home.
Tina shrugs, grabs a nearby IBC executive, and dances with him. Lou watches workaholic Frank sort the mail. Exterior IBC building. Young Frank exits, followed by a cabbie and present-day Frank.
I must have been nuts. That Tina was a little minx.
What could you do? You had mail to sort.
Exterior Central Park. Young Frank strolls along the path, trailed by a cabbie and present-day Frank. We hear the waltz music drifting from Woman Rink and follows it. Exterior Woman Ice Rink. Young Frank walks up to the railing and leans against it, watching the skaters. A blonde beauty twirls the floodlit ice. Her brief silver skating outfit sparkles with every perfect move. Suddenly, a figure blurs into frame, blindsiding the Golden Girl. It's a young Claire in jeans, a flannel shirt, and too long scarf. This sets off a chain reaction collision, toppling skaters right and left, but somehow, young Claire is left standing, now skating backwards towards the railing. Angle on young Frank. He shouts a warning as does present-day Frank, revealed standing behind him.
Look out, Claire.
Angle on it, young Claire, as she sails headlong over the railing, decking young Frank, who smacks his head on the ground.
Are you all right?
Ow. You skate like
an angel.
Oh, a truck.
She untangles herself from him and lurches to her feet.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
He stands, still rubbing his head.
I didn't need that lobe anyhow.
She smiles and they look at each other for a moment.
Oh, see ya.
Merry Christmas?
Yeah, you too.
She turns, waddling on her skates, towards the rink. He starts to walk away and then gets an idea.
Hey, you want to go to a big Christmas party?
No, not really.
Nah, me neither. Well, goodbye.
He turns and walks towards the camera.
How about Chinese food?
Young Frank breaks into a wide smile.
Record, here we go.
Exterior Central Park path. Young Claire and young Frank walk together. She holds a copy of The Hobbit.
Except he's not really evil. I mean, in the end, Gollum bites off Frodo's finger and falls into the crack of doom. But, oh great. Claire, tell him the whole ending. I'm sorry.
Young Frank scoops up some snow and puts it into his head.
Does it still hurt?
Yeah, I got a big lump right here.
Let me feel it.
She gently touches his head.
Oh, yeah.
No, not there. Here.
Oh, wow. That is a lump. Hey, what's this you've got under?
It's a sign of intelligence.
Young Claire dashes out into the street.
Hey, Lumpy, there's a cab.
The checker whistles past. Interior checker. Present-day Frank watches her through the rear window. Close on taxi meter, clicking from 1968 to 69 with off-screen car squeals, etc., ending in a resounding crash. Interior, East Village apartment, night, in 1969. The living room bedroom is decorated inexpensively, but with youthful, exotic hippie flair. The bed is paisley draped mattress on the floor. The room is lit by dozens of candles. Young Frank stands over a small, scraggly Christmas tree, which has been decorated with Christmas cards, peace symbols, and a solitary strand of lights. He holds a treetop angel.
Where's the angel go?
Young Claire walks in, fresh from the tub, a towel wrapped around her.
On top. Haven't you ever trimmed a tree before?
He sticks the angel on top.
No.
My poor Lumpy.
She throws her arms around young Frank and kisses him. In the background, we see present-day Frank and the cabbie watching through a window at the fire escape. Exterior fire escape, present-day Frank stares at young Claire as her towel falls off, revealing her bare back.
God, how beautiful she was.
The cabbie pushes past Frank to leer at her.
Are you kidding? She's a total taste.
Frank shoves the cabbie away from the window. Interior apartment, young Claire slips on a shimmery silk kimono.
Can we give the presents now?
She nods.
Here.
He hands her a large gift wrap box. She carefully unwraps it. Angle on the box of Jinsu kitchen knives. Young Claire stares down at him, strange smile on her face.
Oh, how wonderful. Knives. Lots of knives. How did you know?
I saw how you always chop those vegetables.
They look really sharp.
They are. They're Jinsu knives. I saw them on TV. They can cut through a can. Here, I'll show you something. You got a can and a tomato?
I just love them. Oh, here, your turn. Open mine.
She gives him a beautifully wrapped gift.
No, I just got those in time because the offer expires at midnight.
He looks down at the gift. A book.
Kama Sutra, ancient Indian love guide. Far out.
Read the inscription.
He holds the book up to the light.
All I can make out is Christmas 1969. The rest is just a bunch of wriggly lines.
It's Sanskrit.
Well, what's it say?
She leans over the book.
Well, this says wet, and this is for hot, and that's all I'll tell you.
Young Frank opens the book, turning it slowly as he studies the illustrations.
You know, the Peace Corps expects you to at least speak the language.
You can't do that. That's impossible. These guys got to be double jointed.
Maybe when we get to Nepal, we can rent one of those houseboats right on the lake.
That sounds nice. Wait a minute. Hold on. I don't believe this.
What?
They say there's a secret place you can touch on a woman that will make her bark like a dog.
She moves closer to read over his shoulder, and he puts his arm around her.
That's the silliest thing I ever...
Claire begins howling and barking like a wild dog. Young Frank leans over and kisses her, a long, passionate kiss. They both begin howling and baying. Angle on present day, Frank and Cabby standing in the wildfire escape a few feet away from the embracing couple.
Cold, I want to go home.
Pan up to the full moon. We hear young Frank and Claire's howling echo into the night. Cross dissolved to interior IBC TV studio at night in 1971. A white overhead plague light. The howling continues as we pan down to a man in a dog suit, on all fours, howling at a cartoonish Mike the Mailman who wears an exaggerated, corny mailman suit, bow tie, and carries an oversized mail pouch. We're watching a children's TV show in progress. The dog chews Mike's pant leg, growling in front of a whimsical doghouse, a hand-lettered kitty kennel.
Let go of my leg. I've got something in my mailbag for you.
The dog still clings to his leg.
It's a Christmas present for Lassie.
Mike pulls out a big bone-shaped object wrapped in Christmas paper with a red bow. The tag reads, Merry Christmas, 1971. Off-screen applause and children cheers. The dog sits up, tongue out, begging for the bone. Angle on the audience of children sitting on bleachers, screaming and laughing at the show. Seated dead center in their midst is a stone-faced present-day Frank and the delighted Cabby. Angle on Mike and the dog. Mike studies the gift.
Could it be? What could it be? Is it a book?
Angle on the kids.
It's a bone!
It's a bone!
It's a bone! Bone!
Angle on Mike and the dog.
Is it a basketball?
Angle on the
It's
kids.
The bone!
Bone!
Angle on Mike and the dog.
Is it a pair of mittens?
Angle on the kids.
It's a
Bone!
bone!
It's a
when
bone!
you eat it.
Bone!
The cabbie leaps up from the crowd of children.
It's a bone, you fucking dork.
The kids, of course, can't see or hear him, but Frank buries his face in his hands. Angle on Mike and the dog. The mailman pulls a huge bone from the gift wrapping.
Oh, look! It's a bone!
He sticks it in the panting dog's mouth as the off-screen children cheer.
And we're in commercial.
We hear the top of the 70s Hashboro toy commercial as young Claire runs up to the dog, hugging him, waving a letter.
We made it. They took us. We're in the Peace Corps.
The dog takes off his costume, head to reveal young Frank.
Really? We're in. That's great.
Of course we didn't get Nepal. They're sending us to Africa, but here's the best part. They want us there the first weekend.
Lou Wexler, wearing a pumpkin-colored alpaca sweater, saunters over.
Listen, I got an idea. Hey, sweetheart. Look, why don't you eat the dog food?
Thought I was going to throw the dog food.
Well, you eat it, and then you throw it.
You can teach irrigation, contour plowing, and I'll show the women how to prepare well-balanced.
30 seconds there.
Contour plowing. You know, honey, I'm not so sure.
I got a better idea. You try the dog food, it tastes like crap, and then you throw it.
Well, wait, if it tastes like crap, why don't I do a spit take?
Perfect.
It'll be so cool. Maybe we can sail down the Nile.
15 seconds.
I'm sorry, floating down the Nile, what?
Frank, we have been talking about this trip since the day we met.
You can't just walk out of here at the drop of a hat. I owe a little something to the kids. Look, why don't you go? And as soon as I can, I'll meet you there.
Are we clear on this?
A shapely prop girl sidles over, holding a big dog bowl brimming with dog food.
Frankie, here's your bowl.
Yeah, I try the dog food. It tastes like crap. I do a spit take, then I throw the dog food.
I've got a even better idea. Why don't you wear the dog food?
She grabs the bowl and dumps it over his head. The kids go wild.
Merry Christmas.
She turns on her heel and leaves. Young Frank watches her go, the brown lumpy dog food crawling on his face.
Honey, what's wrong? Are you angry?
Frank, your head. Oh, 3, 2, 1.
Angle on the kids squealing with laughter. The cabbie is doubled over, wailing. Frank grimly gets up to go. The cabbie follows.
That was great. What was that show?
It was just a children's thing.
Yeah, but what was it called?
Frisbee the dog.
You left her for the Frisbee the dog show. You must be insane.
Hey, I made a few mistakes. Okay, I'm only human. Well, fine, I can live with that. I know who I am. I know what I want, and I know what's going on. I am not insane.
To drive home his point, he whirls around and slams his fist into the wall.
Of course you're not, Frank.
Interior Frank's office, the present day. A balding, middle-aged man, Dr. Rosenblum, pats Frank on the back. Frank cradles his bruised hand.
You're just a little upset.
Frank desperately tries to get his bearings.
What is going on?
You're just experiencing a little stress, which is perfectly natural. Frank, you're in a high-pressure job, and Christmas is a particularly stressful time of year.
Frank leans towards the doctor.
But there was this ghost.
That's what psychiatry is all about, Frank. Dealing with ghosts.
But Dr. Rosenblum, he took me.
My God, you're doing a TV show about a man who's visited by ghosts. I'd be worried if you weren't dreaming about them. Look.
Dr. Rosenblum grabs the remote control and clicks on the monitor. On screen, interior Scrooge's office. Young Ebenezer Scrooge stands mutely as Belle, his fiancée, ties her bonnet and readies to exit.
All right, just give me a sound level on that.
I've seen your nobler aspirations fall off one by one until the master passion, greed, engrosses you. Farewell, Ebenezer. May you be happy with the path you've chosen.
Angle on Frank watching the TV.
Well, I am happy with the path I've chosen, you little bitch. I couldn't be happier.
Now, Frank, I'm going to double your prescription, and I suggest...
Let's just see how your life turned out.
Storms from the office. Exterior IBC building. Frank exits the building, still ranting at Claire, and heads west on foot. An IBC guard regards him suspiciously.
Just for the record, you left me. You're the one who ran out to Africa, not me.
Dissolve to exterior New York Street. Mobile Blood Bank Day. Big signs on the truck offer top dollar for pints of blood. We hear Elliot's theme playing on a violin. It's snowing. Unshaven and wild-eyed, Elliot Loudermilk exits holding a fistful of cash, walking unsteadily toward the curb. He counts the money, grins, and pitches forward into the snow, passed out cold. The violin music stops. Reveal who's been playing the music. A street violinist with his upturned hat sitting empty on the sidewalk. He picks up the hat, comes over to Elliot, plucks the money from his hand, puts it in the hat, and strolls away. Frank passes by, not noticing the man in the gutter, caught up in his rant.
I stayed right here. You're the one who had to help the Hottentots, or whatever the hell they're called.
Exterior homeless shelter afternoon. The shelter, once a Cadillac showroom, has papered the big windows over with bright murals painted by the inner city children of the community. The name of the project, Operation Reach Out, is spelled in giant multicolored letters. Collar up, shivering in the wind, with Claire's card in his hand, Frank strides towards the one-story building.
I couldn't just go out traipsing somewhere. I had commitments. I had obligations.
Interior shelter. The large room is warm and busy with Christmas activity. People hang crepe paper bunting, decorate folding tables, string Christmas lights. Several cafeteria tables set up in the center of the room feed the hungry and the homeless of every age and color. Frank enters, still babbling.
What about my needs? Face it, lady, you treated me like dirt.
Hazel, a middle-aged Black woman who works at the shelter, notices Frank.
Honey, you look frozen. Let me get you a nice hot cup of coffee.
Thanks.
You go ahead and sit over there. I'll bring it to you.
Frank goes to the nearest table and sits down with the homeless. Sitting beside him is Herman, a dirt-caked wino mess who stares into his soup. He wears a grimy t-shirt that reads, Frankie say relax. Above the table, a remnant from the showroom days, is glittery sign on the wall which reads, the style you demand, the luxury you deserve. Hazel brings Frank's coffee, wrapped in a blanket over his shoulders, bustles off. Frank clutches the steaming styrofoam cup. Herman edges closer to Frank. He pulls an old music box pocket watch from his soiled jacket and opens it. Beautiful Dreamer plays as he checks the time.
Ah, the cocktail hour. Now, Dick, you know your fine wines, your great westerns, your lancers, Matus. But for my money, you can't buy nothing better than...
He slams a half-empty bottle of Mogan David Concord grape wine on the table.
Mad Dog 2020.
He snaps his pocket watch shut. Beautiful Dreamer stops. Herman takes a long swig and passes the bottle to Frank.
Come on, Dick, drink up.
Why do you keep calling me Dick?
Sorry, Mr. Burton. Maybe I don't know you good enough to call you Dick, but after Exorcist 2 in Night of the Iguana, thought we had a certain...
Listen, I am not Richard.
And if you could just do a line or two of Hamlet.
Leave me alone.
Or the Sandpiper.
No.
Cleopatra?
I am Mark Antony, and you shall be my queen Cleopatra, and together we will bring Egypt to her knees. Now beat it, you old lush.
Claire suddenly appears, reaching over and snatching the wine.
I was lost. Herman, make yourself useful. Go help hang the lights. Frank, what are you doing here?
I'm having a real bad day.
Frank stands and Claire fixes his collar.
Said if it ever happened again, I should drop by, and it did.
Claire scoops up an armload of balloons.
Here, give me a hand with these.
Angle on Frank and Claire. They cross the crowded shelter to a pyramid of gifts topped by a new TV set with the banner Grand Prize. A sign tacked across the base of the display reads, Christmas Fair Raffle, Save Our Shelter. Claire scampers up a rickety stepladder and begins taping the balloons to the TV set. Frank, bracing the ladder, has misgivings.
Do you want me to do this?
No, I'm fine.
I've been thinking a lot about the past lately.
Why?
You know how you make choices, and at the time they seem like the only choices, but then later you wonder what would have happened if you'd made different choices. You know what I mean?
No. Frank, are you talking about regret?
Yes, exactly. Regret.
Right. How does that look?
Use a few more on the other side.
Claire teeters precariously as she adds balloons to the other side.
You know, Frank, the only good thing about regret is that it's never too late. You can always change if you want to. Believe me, I deal with that every day.
Blam! The balloon she's taping pops, startling her, causing her to lose her footing and fall on top of Frank. They land on the floor in a giggling heap. They lean on each other, trying to stand. Frank puts his arms around Claire, holding her, hugging her. Their laughter fades as they become aware of the contact, and they step back.
Are you okay?
I think so. Hey, let's get out of here. You want to get some Chinese food?
Hazel rushes up.
We got a problem. Do you know where the fuse box is?
Yeah. Right now?
Yeah, why not? We could.
And you better call the A&P about the turkeys.
They're not here yet? Wait a minute, I'll be right back.
Listen, don't bother.
It'll only take a second.
You know, these people are just using you.
I hope so. That's why I'm here. What's wrong?
Nothing. I'm just sad to see you wasting your life again.
What about them?
Rape them off. If you want to save somebody, Claire, save yourself. Thanks for the coffee.
He walks away, angle on Herman as he clutches the mad dog to himself.
Giddy up, jingle horse, pick up some speed.
Frank walks by.
You're in my way.
Listen, Dick, think you could lend me a few bucks so I
give it the office.
Interior IBC Studio 8H, a little later. It's snowing in the London street of the Scrooge set. For a moment, we don't realize we're now watching the rehearsal of the television show.
Now be off with you, and you'll feel my stick across your back.
We track Marlon Brando as Scrooge as he strides down the cobblestone street, waving his cane, scattering the street urchins who beg for handouts. John Houseman narrates.
Ebenezer Scrooge hurried past the ragged boys who stood shivering in the snow, gnawed and mumbled by the hungry cold as bones are gnawed by dogs.
A penny, sir. A penny.
A crust of bread?
Scrooge buttonholes a bobby standing under the lamppost. Carolers sing Good King Wenceslas in the background.
Excuse me, my good man. Can't something be done about them? Must I be constantly harassed by these damned sea urchins?
Marlon, buddy.
Reveal Bryce on the edge of the set with TV cameras, technicians, censor with gauze-wrapped head, etc. The rehearsal halts, carolers break off the singing, and snow stops falling.
That's street urchins, not sea urchins. Guys, that's it. Dinner break. I'll be back in 1 hour, and I don't mean an hour and 5 minutes.
Frank storms up to Bryce.
Excuse me, I call the dinner breaks around here.
Frank, if it means that much to you, I can get him back to you, and then you can say it's time for dinner.
I think it's time you and I had a little talk.
You know, right, but I promised Preston I'd drop by and have a drink with him, so let me take a rain check on that, okay, Jay?
Bryce squeezes Frank's arm, winks, and joins the other cast and crew exiting the set. Frank stands bewildered as the Bobby Street Urchin and some solid gold dancers pass by.
I gotta call my service.
If you're going downstairs, pick me up a pack of merits. Frank wanders down the now deserted 19th century London set. He passed the cobbler's, the ladies' emporium, the tobacconist, the candle maker, till he reaches the Scrooge and Marley and goes inside. Interior Scrooge's office. The office is musical comedy reel with period furniture and low dark beam ceiling. A frost-edged, many-paned windows looked out on the studio London street. Frank slumps warily at Scrooge's massive desk. Grace arrives holding papers and a mobile phone.
Mr. Cross, I've been looking all over for you. They shot Leroy Neiman.
Frank ignores her, lost in thought.
The East German border guards just opened up on...
He whirls around.
Get me Preston Rhinelander on the phone. In fact, forget it. I'll get it myself. Don't you have something to do?
She leaves. Frank is the only one left in the studio.
Judy, it's Frank. Is he in? Yeah, I'll hold. Preston, this kid Bryce is really getting on my nerves. Yes. No, I understand that, but he's not helping. I'll tell you what he's doing.
The studio goes black. Through the window, he sees a follow spot cut on, throwing a bright circle of light in the golden easel, in the center of the darkened London street.
Wait a minute.
A woman's hand enters the circle of light and places a big art card on the easel that reads a flowery style, the Ballbreaker Suite.
Hang on just a second.
He puts the phone aside and goes to the doorway to get a better look. Interior London street, same time. We hear an off-screen Celeste begin the familiar strains of the Dance of the Sugar Plum Fairy from the Nutcracker Suite, and indeed, an exquisite sugar plum fairy with translucent wings and shimmering tutu tiptoes into the light. Frank can scarcely believe his eyes. She dances superbly, gracefully executing leaps and spins and twirls and arabesque and pirouettes and lots of other things with fancy French names. Her wings quivering excitedly, she glides over to Frank and, at a key point in the music, whoop, kicks him solidly in the balls. His eyes cross, he staggers, barely able to stand. As the music starts up again, she gaily flounces off, finishing with a flourish, does a little curtsy, and introduces herself to Frank. Hello, Frank. I am the ghost of Christmas Present. She speaks somewhat like Glinda, the Good Witch, with a delicate British accent and a sing-song falsetto.
Why did you do that?
Sometimes you have to slap them in the face just to get their attention.
Fine. Slap me in the face. That's fair enough, but you kicked me in the...
Oh, hush, Frank. It's time to begin our journey. Now close your eyes.
You close your eyes. I'm through.
Don't be quarrelsome. Close your eyes. He reluctantly closes his eyes. And think of snowflakes and moonbeams and whiskers on kittens. He sneaks a wary look at her. There, no peeking. Of rainbows, forget-me-nots, of misty meadows and sun-dappled pools. Oh, look, there's Mr. Hedgehog. I wonder where he's going. Perhaps to dreamland. She leans back and unloads a freight train right to Frank's jaw. In a shower of pixie ducks, we cut to interior Grace Cooley's living room, Christmas Eve. Frank lands on the floor. We hear angelic, bluesy electric guitar playing Away in Manger. He groggily sits up.
Where am I, in heaven?
The fairy stands over him, smiling serenely. No, in Harlem. Grandma sits in the threadbare sofa, playing the soulful, string-bended guitar. She's surrounded by 6 of Grace's children who all sing along. The shabby living room is bright with Christmas lights and decorations. An electric space heater adds to the cheery atmosphere.
Ow! That really hurt.
Sometimes the truth is painful, Frankie. And besides, it's made your cheeks all nice and rosy, and your eyes as bright as stars. Frank slowly gets to his feet, shaking his head to clear it. The front door opens and Grace and Calvin enter.
Merry Christmas, Cooley family!
Some of the kids rush over and hug her, helping Calvin out of his coat.
Oh, Mom, you didn't have to come get me.
I'm not having you ride that subway alone at night. You almost ready?
Shasta and Randy huddled over the top-like plastic puzzle, trying to get all the metal balls into the holes. Frustrated, Shasta pulls away from her sister. Get away, you don't know how to do it.
Give me that. It's mine. Gimme.
Shasta hits her with the puzzle and Randy bursts into tears. Good gracious, what a fuss. She sprinkles a little pixie dust over them and instantly they're all smiles. Here, take it. You try.
No, it's your turn.
Frank notices Calvin sitting near them, eyeing the puzzle.
Little guy, what's wrong with him?
He saw his father killed, just drifted away, like Sleeping Beauty.
I didn't know her husband died.
Do you remember that period she wore black for a year?
Yeah, but I always thought it was just a new look, some fashion thing.
Angle on Grandma.
Y'all ready to dance?
Yeah.
Grandma bends over, cranks up the volume on her battered pig-nosed amp, and tears into the Three Dog Nights' Joy to the World. Angle on Fairy, Frank, and Calvin and the twins. The twins go off to dance, leaving the puzzle on the floor. The fairy prances off to join them. Frank is alone with Calvin. Unseen, he watches him. The little boy stares at the puzzle. Suddenly, he reaches over and with a flick of the wrist, spins it. Close on the puzzle, all the metal balls click into place. Angle on Frank. He's stunned. Calvin blankly moves away. Frank crosses the room to the dancing fairy.
That kid, the little one, is he going to be okay?
It's his choice. Only he can break the spell. Frank glances back at Calvin, sitting by himself on the floor. My, this is a merry tune. Come and join the dance. She does a quick pirouette.
No, thanks.
Grandma wails, singing the chorus.
Joy to the world, all the boys and girls. Joy to the fishes in the deep blue sea.
Stephen joins her, drumming in the phone book. Shasta and Randy grab Grace and rock around the room. All the kids are dancing now. The fairy leaps onto the coffee table and does a grande jeté over the Barca lounger. Everyone is swinging heavily. Close on a kitten, curled up in the middle of the nativity scene, opens drowsy-eyed, yawns, and back to sleep. Back to the scene, Frank begins tapping his foot, shyly snapping his fingers. Grandma jumps up, windmilling her beat-up Telecaster for all she's worth.
Are you sure they can't see me?
He finally surrenders to the beat and dances, timidly at first, but quickly progressing a full-out party beast. The fairy prepares to depart. Come, we've tarried long enough. We must be.
Lighten up, Mama. Let's get into the zone. Let's get ill.
This is a disgrace, Frank. Look at the ceiling. A woman in your employ living like this? Shame on you. Still dancing, Frank glances up at the crumbling ceiling.
You're right. When I get back, I'll give her a...
The fairy sucker punches Frank with a Mike Tyson right. In another burst of pixie dust, we match cut to exterior, James Cross brownstone. Establish a brownstone under renovation. A large dumpster sits outside. Off-screen noise brings us to interior, James Cross's brownstone living room, Christmas Eve. The blow sends Frank crashing into a bar trolley loaded with glasses and party snacks. He struggles to get up, picking cocktail cherries off his lapels. A big mongrel dog growls at him.
Fairy or no fairy, you do that one more time, I'm going to rip your goddamn wings off.
Cujo, bad dog.
Wendy, James's wife, a long-limbed stunner with an easy smile, rushes over to the trolley and begins cleaning up. A guest lends a hand.
It's your turn, Wendy.
Go ahead, I can hear you.
Fairy helps Frank to his feet and gestures around her. Ah, what a gay feast. We see a warm, homey place full of friends and food. Cujo curls up in front of the roaring fire. We hear medieval Christmas carols played by the chamber quartet on the stereo. A bushy Christmas tree strung with real popcorn and real cranberries soars to the ceiling of this lovingly restored Victorian home. Strewn at the foot of the tree lie open gifts.
This looks like a Lone Brow commercial.
Okay, all set.
Do not vex me, Frank, or I'll fix your mouth so it won't hold soup.
On Gilligan's Island, what was the name of the shipwrecked boat?
As Frank looks at her apprehensive, Wendy notices unopened present under the tree and brings it over to James.
You haven't opened your brother's gift yet.
Wide shot of the living room and everybody gathered around James opening the gift. In the background is Frank and the fairy.
This ought to be great. What did he get you last year?
I don't remember.
A shower curtain.
It was a beautiful shower curtain. It was gray. It had little IVC stamped all over it.
James unwraps the large present.
What'd you get him this year?
Nothing really. I made a frame for an old snapshot of the two of us when we were kids.
James reaches into the box with difficulty, pulls out a top-of-the-line VCR.
I don't believe it. A VCR.
Frank explodes.
I'm gonna kill her. I distinctly said towel. I remember saying the words.
You probably got the gifts mixed up.
I didn't get the gifts mixed up. The ex-secretary got the gifts mixed up.
You really don't know him.
And I'm never going to know him. Every year you invite him to Christmas dinner, and every year he's too busy to come. When are you going to learn?
Never. He's my brother.
Fairy looks over at Frank.
What the hell? It's Christmas.
Can we please get back to the game? We're winning.
Party gathers around guests in the Trivial Pursuit game.
Okay. On the Addams Family, what musical instrument did Lurch play?
Frank, we must be off.
I think it was a violin.
Wait a second. I'm starving. Let me grab a turkey leg or something.
It couldn't have been a violin. He only had one hand.
I'm afraid we've lingered long enough.
That was a Lurch. That was thing.
Let's just hang out. This is sort of fun.
Fairy attempts to throw her trademark right cross, but Frank easily blocks it.
Let's say piano. Okay, we're gonna say he played the piano.
Come on, babe. Give me your best shot.
He feigns an all shuffle and hands up peekaboo style. She glances above Frank's head and smiles.
Wrong. It was the harpsichord.
Piano, harpsichord, same thing.
Oh, how sweet. Mistletoe. Frank looks up, and before he realizes his mistake, she rockets him to a dreamland. With a blast of pixie dust, we match cut to interior South Bronx tenement apartment night. The blow sends Frank sprawling to the shadowy one-room apartment. It's bitter cold. He angrily picks himself up off the floor, ready to duke it out.
Okay, that's it. That does it. Hello? Miss Fairy Woman? Ghostess? Anyone?
Frank tries the door. He yanks it. Locked tight, he pounds on it with both fists.
Come back, please. Don't leave me here.
The door won't budge. Frank stumbles back into the room, shuddering in the bluish light, exhaling cold clouds. He fumbles out his lighter and flicks it on. It doesn't shed much light. He grabs an old newspaper off the floor, rolls it tightly into a torch, and sets it on fire. A few feet away on a decaying couch sits Herman, the wino. He watches Frank wordlessly.
Oh, God, I'm sorry. You scared me. I thought I was alone.
Herman continues to stare at him.
I'm not going to hurt you. I need your help. It's me, Dick.
He reaches out and gently shakes Herman. The gold pocket watch falls from Herman's hand and the lid opens as it lands. It begins playing Beautiful Dreamer. Frank holds the torch closer. Herman's white face and blank eyes confront him.
Oh, my God.
He's frozen to death. Frank backs away, slowly looking around the room. Herman stares at him as if in judgment. Frank's point of view, while Beautiful Dreamer plays, we see that where Herman came to his end. Roaches crawl over an empty, doorless refrigerator. A plume of ice hangs from the broken water pipe. The floor is littered with rags, cans, newspapers, bottles. The watch runs down and stops. Frank, lost in his sad inventory, doesn't notice the torch has burned his hand.
Ah!
The flame sputters out, leaving him in darkness. He panics, smashing the boarded up windows with his shoulder, but they won't give. Frantic, he tries kicking the door. Nothing. Grabbing a chair, he batters the door with all his might. The chair shatters. Frank gathers the last bit of strength to make a final charge at the door. He breaks through. Interior, IBC Studio 8H Scrooge set, Christmas Eve. Frank bursts through Scrooge's office, flattening a lady censor and tumbling to the floor. We hear heraldic horns playing a fanfare. The IBC announcer steps up to the mic.
Tonight, live on IBC, the world premiere telecast of a Christmas classic, Charles Dickens' Immortal Scrooge.
We see reaction shots of extras in Victorian costume, technicians, solid gold dancers, Tip O'Neill dressed as Marley, Bryce and Grace all staring at Frank in stunned silence.
Help me get him off the set.
Frank, dazed and confused, staggers to his feet, stammering inarticulately. As Bryce and Grace try to lead him away, he sneaks a peek inside the Scrooge office. A prop man hurries out.
Here, grab his arm. What are you looking at? Let's get with it.
30 seconds there.
I've been worried about you.
Bryce steers him off the set and towards the elevator.
I've all been worried about you, Frank. Now, why don't you just go upstairs and kind of supervise things in that big office of yours, huh? You check those satellite link ups.
Yeah, okay. Good luck, guys. I feel magic tonight.
Interior IBC Studio 8H backstage Christmas Eve. Now at the elevator, the doors open and standing before Frank, a hooded black cape billowing, red eyes glowing in a skull, the ghost of Christmas future. Frank shrieks, dropping to his knees. He clutches pitifully to the ghost cape.
Take me. I give up. Do whatever you want.
The ghost tries to pull away, stumbling back into the elevator.
Help! Guard! Security!
A husky IBC security guard moves for Frank.
Oh, that won't be necessary. Frank needs a little rest and he'll be fine.
Get the hell out of here.
Frank stares wide-eyed at the ghost who edges past him. The ghost waves his Scrooge script angrily.
Listen, I got a show to do. I don't need this.
I'm okay. False alarm. Go get him, kids.
The elevator doors close.
This is live TV, not tape, not film. Live!
Calm down.
Don't tell me to calm down. There's going to be 100 million people watching the show, and I'm the one who's going to be out there, not you.
He turns on his heels and stalks away, cape lufting behind him. We track him through the congested backstage area.
Ugh. Anybody have a Valium?
A solid gold dancer looks up from fixing the run in her stocking. There's some in my bag in the dressing room.
Thanks, honey.
8 seconds.
The ghost walks through a quieter area. He reaches the dressing room and enters. Interior dressing room. The ghost shuts the door behind him and crosses the empty room to the lit makeup mirror. He tosses back the black hood and very slowly removes the horrific skull mask with blazing blood red eyes. Beneath it, a horrific skull face and blazing blood red eyes. This really is the ghost of Christmas future. Light bulbs explode around the mirror. The skull stares at his nightmarish reflection. There's an evil sizzling sound as smoke curls from his eye sockets. Interior Frank's office. Frank sits at his desk, confused and exhausted. On the TV screen, John Houseman sits in a wing chair. He opens the leather-bound copy of Scrooge and begins to read.
It was a cold, bleak Christmas Eve. The fog-draped streets of London were deserted, save for an occasional carriage that moved like a phantom through the dingy mist.
We hear the clip-clop of horses' hooves on cobblestone. Back to scene, Frank pours himself a water glass of vodka.
Old Ebenezer Scrooge sat alone in his gloomy chambers, more bitter than the night. Christmas, he thought. Bah, humbug.
Frank takes a big swig. Interior Studio 8H hallway. Mary Lou Retton, dressed in rags as Tiny Tim, hobbles a few feet on her wooden crutches. Suddenly she stops, flings the crutches aside, somersaults down the corridor, flies into the full twisting backflip, and lands on her feet.
God bless us, everyone!
Sitting in a folding chair against the wall is the wide-eyed Calvin Cooley. He stares up at Mary Lou with a strange intensity. Calvin's sister Linnell pulls up the chair beside him. Mary Lou's coach approaches her.
Try it again. And this time, really stick it.
Mary Lou nods and returns to her original position. In the background, John Houseman walks briskly to the dressing room, trailed by his dresser. Grace comes over to Calvin and Linnell and puts a hand on his shoulder.
You kids having a good time?
Mary Lou Retton hurtles down the hallway, landing right in front of them.
God bless us, everyone!
Calvin can't take his eyes off her. Interior Frank's office. Over Frank's shoulder, we see the TV monitor with Brando as Scrooge sitting in the dreary counting house. His nephew proudly gets a glass on the desk.
And what are these supposed to be?
Why, they're dormice, Uncle.
Close on the mice, with antlers glued to their tiny heads.
The rage of London. I brought a pair for my...
Interior Rhinelander's Beekman Place brownstone night. Preston Rhinelander and his handsome white-haired wife sit in their classic wasp parlor watching Scrooge. Their two Persian cats paw the screen after the dormice.
Wife.
Dormice, indeed. Works like a charm.
Interior Frank's office night.
Never heard of such foolishness.
Frank mutes the sound with the remote control. Frank is totally gone. He pours himself another Stoli, setting down the bottle without looking. It falls, spilling over the cluttered desk. He grabs it and begins sopping the liquor with an envelope. Seeing a wrapped gift among his papers, he stops and picks it up. The tag on the gift, to Frank. We stay on Frank as he opens the package. He freezes when he sees what's inside. His eyes fill up. Tears begin to stream down his face. Brushing them aside, he sets the gift on his desk and walks away. Cut to the gift. Black and white photograph of Frank and James as little boys in front of the tract house. They have their arms around each other and smile happily into the camera. Inscribed in the bottom of the picture, to Frank, the best big brother a guy ever had. Merry Christmas, love, James. Frank pours himself another drink. Scrooge continues in monitors showing a street scene. Interior Studio 8H. The Victorian Scrooge Street is in full glory. The Pulitzers hung with the geese and turkeys, the grocers bustling with polished fruit, wind-up toys dance in the store with windows, the toy store windows, vendors hawk their chestnuts. Crowds of happy shoppers bustle down the snow-covered street. Children carolers sing God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen beneath the flickering gas lamp. Brando as Scrooge walks beside a jolly giant wearing a long velvet robe and holy wreaths on his head. The Dickens ghosts of Christmas past. We track them down at the Cherry Street.
This has indeed been a night of revelations. Thank you for showing me the true meaning.
Big Ben begins chiming off screen. Thank me not, Ebenezer, for soon you will be visited by the final spirit, the thing all men fear the most. Exterior Manhattan. A huge blood-tinged moon sits ominously on the horizon, dwarfing a silhouetted skyline. Cut to exterior Frank's office. Frank, framed by the crisscross window grid, stares out at the swollen moon. He stands imprisoned, a solitary, lonely figure. Interior Frank's office. Frank, his back to the camera, stands at the far end of the spacious office, staring out the window. He turns, dull with booze, slowly crosses the room. The vodka bottle, upside down in his hand, leaves a trail along the carpet. As he passes the TV monitor, we see appearing on the screen, wreathed in gray mist, the black-hooded ghost of Christmas future. The solemn phantom points a long, bony finger at Frank. Frank continues on, oblivious. We see a ghost, skeletal hand pointing straight at Frank, take over all the monitors. Suddenly, the door flies open. Elliot Loudermilk, unshaven with crazed red-rimmed eyes, wearing pajamas, an overcoat, mud-caked galoshes, harlequin sunglasses, and carrying a double-barreled shotgun, stands in the doorway, smiling.
Honey, I'm home!
He blasts the vodka bottle out of Frank's hand. With a sobering jolt of adrenaline, Frank dives behind his desk.
Remember me, boss? The guy you canned the day before Christmas?
Another shotgun charge slams into the desk, blowing the phone to bits. Elliot calmly breaks apart the smoking gun and slides 2 more shells in.
Elliot, I've been trying to get you on the phone. Firing you was a big mistake.
Another blast blows out the TV monitors and Frank winces.
As of now, consider yourself rehired, bonus and everything.
He breaks cover, bolting out the door. Elliot fires, missing him by inches. Interior hallway area outside Frank's office. As Elliot coolly reloads, Frank tugs on an office door. It's locked. He runs to the next door, also locked. Yanking on the handle, the doorknob comes off in his hand.
How was my day, you ask? Well, my wife left me, took my little girl with her, and that's all I can remember because ever since then, I've been blind drunk!
Elliot clicks the gun in place with a metallic snap.
You better not shout. You better not cry. You better not pout. I'm telling you why.
Frank hides behind the secretary's desk.
You were right. I was a jerk. I've missed the whole point of Christmas. I know that now.
Elliot appears above him. Frank looks up to see both barrels inches from his head.
But I've been through a lot today, and I've learned a lot.
He gets to his feet.
He knows when you're sleeping.
Elliot backs Frank up against the wall.
I've done some terrible things, not just to you, but to people who love me. But the wonderful thing is, it's not too late.
Knows when you're awake.
Please, just give me a chance.
Elliot aims with both barrels at the camera. Over his shoulder, we see the ghost holding out both his skeletal arms in a death embrace.
I promise you.
Both barrels explode with a deafening roar. Frank drops to the floor, barely dodging the blast. 2 smoking holes are blown out inches above him. Frank scampers on all 4s down the hall. Elliot, in no hurry, reloads. Frank springs to his feet as the water cooler explodes near his head. Elliot follows him down the hall, a shotgun dangling casually over his elbow.
He knows when you've been bad or good.
Frank runs until he reaches the elevator bank. Incredibly, the elevator bell rings and the doors slide open. Frank leaps inside, hits Al, and frantically punches closed door. Elliot rounds the corner.
So be good, for goodness sake.
The doors close on Elliot, aiming both barrels into the car. Frank is safe. Interior elevator. Frank stares up at the descending floor lights, sweat beading his forehead, panting heavily. Suddenly he realizes there's someone else breathing in the car. Low, death-rattled breaths. He whirls around to see the ghost of Christmas future standing right behind him.
Oh, God, it's you. Scared me to death.
Frank wipes his brow, recovering.
What the hell are you doing here? Shouldn't you be downstairs in the studio? We're on the air.
He notices some rustling beneath the ghost's black cape.
Hey, what do you got under there?
He pulls back the cape to reveal hellish faces writhing and moaning in pain, trapped inside the hollow ghost's bloody ribcage prison. Frank yanks the cloak shut, eyes wide with dread. He slowly looks up the ghost's hooded face. Wisps of smoke drift from the coal red-eyed socket.
Shit, well, that's some costume. Really works. Whew, I'm scared.
Elevator doors open behind him.
Whoops, my floor, gotta run.
As the ghost silently glowers at him, Frank bolts out the elevator door into a situation too horrible to be described here. Frank shrieks, pulls a U-turn, and dives back into the elevator as Bernard Herrmann's piercing psycho strings pursue him. Interior elevator. Frank hysterically jabs all the elevator buttons as the doors close. The ghost stares down at him.
My mistake. So you don't say much, huh? I like that in a man. Strong, silent type. Chicks love it.
The ghost doesn't respond. The elevator descends for a few more floors, finally stopping. The doors open to reveal interior Willowbrook Mental Institution, late afternoon. We see squatting in a shadowy corner of this snake pit nightmare, a slightly older Calvin wearing a grimy nightshirt. Reverse angle on Frank and the ghost watching from inside the elevator.
So what? Am I supposed to know these people?
Angle on Calvin as the older Grace Cooley brings him a cup of water.
Now be careful, sweetheart. Drink it slow.
A hospital orderly taps on her shoulder.
Please, I just got here.
Visiting hours are over.
He starts to escort her away. Grace breaks free, running to her son. She hugs him tightly. The boy stares at nothing. He's lost. The orderly pries her off, leading her from the room.
Don't worry, Calvin, honey. I'll be back. You be a good boy.
The elevator doors close.
Is this true? Is this the future? But I can change it, right? I will as soon as I get back. Take Grace's son to specialist. See, it's a done thing, that easy.
The elevator descends and stops again. The doors open on exterior Rodeo Drive Sidewalk Bistro. A trio of middle-aged Beverly Hills harpies gossip over the nouveau salads at the outdoor cafe. The women have too much jewelry, too much makeup, and too much cosmetic surgery. They wear expensive fringed and studded designer jumpsuits and distressed hair. The woman with her back to her camera flicks the red talon hand through her orange shag.
So, by now the new girl is waxing my legs.
We move around to her to see. It's Claire. She has become tough and brassy.
You mean the Korean?
Two children, ragged and gaunt, walk the cafe's railing, watching the ladies eat.
I guess. They all look. Hey, beat it! Waiter.
Angle on Frank, eyes widening as he hears Claire's name, recognizing her beneath the garish mask. Angle on Claire, lighting a cigarette, her puffy face set in a sneer.
Don't tell me. I wasted 20 years on losers like them. Thank God. A friend took me aside one day and said, "Save yourself, Claire. Scrape them off." Best advice I ever got.
Continue to stare at her. She sips her drink, a tear in her eye.
Yeah. Best advice I ever got.
The elevator doors close on this scene. Interior elevator, Frank turns to the ghost.
I didn't mean it. I was angry and hurt. I didn't want. He was right. The second I get back, I'm going to call Claire. No, I'll go over and see her. Thanks. Thank you for showing me this. This was good.
The elevator descends, finally stopping at the bottom floor. This time the doors slowly swing open with the chilling stone against the stone sound. The ghost wordlessly floats past Frank out of the car.
Hey, wait up.
Frank follows the specter into exterior cemetery at night. Frank looks over his shoulder to see he's just stepped out of an age-worn marble mausoleum. He shudders, dashing through the Michael Riva graveyard after the ghost. They float side by side through the moon-swept headstones and crypts toward the bare hill. Wendy Cross stands there, alone, head bowed.
Oh, no. James, my brother's dead. Oh, what a waste. I don't know what my problem was with him. He's my brother, and I love him. I do. When I get back, I'll...
James Cross steps out from behind a monument and joins his wife. He's sobbing. She holds his hand, comforting him.
James, he's okay. Well, then who's buried in there?
Frank looks at the ghost, who simply points towards the freshly dug empty grave. Frank is drawn up the hill, close on headstone which reads, Francis Cross, beloved brother. The birth and death dates are obscured by a floral wreath. Angle on Frank, shaking his head, mouth open in disbelief.
What? I'm dead? What the hell are you saying here? I've died? That's crazy. I mean, if I'm dead, how can I change any of this? Why bother showing me these things if I can't do anything about them? No, I'm sorry. That's it. That's enough. You're not getting me in there.
He wheels fleeing back to the mausoleum elevator, his only possibility of escape. The specter points a bony finger after him. Interior elevator. Frank races inside and pushes the 22nd floor. The doors slide shut. He looks up at the floor lights. The car is still. He's breathing hard. Suddenly, with a wrenching metallic sound, the walls of the elevator begin to close in on him. The ceiling slowly drops. Frank jams his arms out, trying to fight it, but the elevator tightens to fit his body. The light flickers, and the instant before he goes out, we see the elevator car has become Frank's coffin. From outside, we hear hands roughly grab the coffin and turn it sideways.
Easy, watch it.
I got it. You get the back.
Damn, it's cold.
Hey, what's going on? I'm in here.
Exterior cemetery. 3 gravediggers carry Frank's coffin up the hill to the grave where James and Wendy wait.
Not much of a turnout.
Interior Frank's coffin. We hear Frank's panicked breaths.
Anybody out there? Can anybody hear me? Hello?
We hear creaking, jostling sounds.
Help!
Exterior grave. They lower the coffin into the pit.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want.
Interior coffin. In the blackness, we hear James's muffled voice.
He leadeth me besides the still.
My God, I'm being buried alive. Help! Help me!
Exterior grave. James closes the Bible, scoops up a handful of dirt, and drops it in the coffin below. Interior coffin. The total darkness, we hear the sound of dirt hitting the coffin lid. Frank goes berserk.
Get me out of here!
He pounds frantically against the casket. The wood creaks.
No!
Shovelfuls of dirt hit the coffin. Frank's pounding increases.
I want to live! I want to live!
With his last ounce of strength, he slowly pries open the coffin lid. Match cut to interior IBC 22nd floor elevator bank. Frank bursts out the elevator and lands on the floor.
I want to live!
Church bells ring loudly on the TV monitor above him. Frank stops thrashing and he looks around, recognizing he's back safe on the 22nd floor. As the reality hits, a big smile spreads across his face. He bounds to his feet. He giggles, laughing louder, finally shouting with joy.
I'm alive!
Elliot steps from around the corner, aiming a shotgun squarely at Frank.
Not for long.
Frank brushes the gun aside and throws a brotherly arm around Elliot.
Okay, here's my final offer. You're hired back at twice the salary. You move upstairs to a big office, and I'm making you vice president in charge of programming.
Elliot lowers the gun.
Excuse me, I'm looking for Mr. Frank Cross. I must have the wrong...
Frank stops him as he turns to go.
No, it's me, but it's not me. I'm a new man. I'm a lover.
He gives him a big kiss on the cheek.
I'm a singer.
He hits a high note. On the TV monitor, the clanging bells of London change to the carolers singing, I Heard the Bells on Christmas Day.
I'm a dancer.
He grabs Elliot and waltzes him wildly down the hall, but Frank freezes in mid-tango spin, letting go of his partner's hand. Elliot sails across the floor and topples over a desk.
Wait a minute, are we still on the air?
Elliot climbs from behind the desk.
You got it. About 10 minutes left.
Frank helps him to his feet, throws an arm around him, and steers him towards the door.
10 minutes, come on, Elliot.
Frank pulls a shiny red Christmas ball from the corporate wreath, hooks it around his ear, and flashes a wacky grin.
Let's have a little fun for once in this life.
Interior studio. Scrooge, wearing a nightshirt and tasseled cap, throws open a bedroom shutters and looks out.
What a glorious day! Never has there been such a day!
He shouts to the street urchin, lobbing snowballs at the street below.
You there, lad!
The boy stops and looks up at the window.
Yes, sir. Are you talking to me, sir?
Scrooge holds up a shiny coin.
Here's a gold sovereign. Go buy me the biggest goose in all of London.
He tosses it to the boy. Slow motion of the tumbling coin, but it's caught by a different hand. We hear gasps. We see the shocked reactions of Brando, Grace. Interior control room. The place is in panic.
He's drunk.
He's nuts.
He's finished.
Elliot has appeared with a shotgun behind the director.
Day on him.
Interior studio. The hand opens and Frank Cross looks down at the coin he just caught. As more cameras glide over to shoot him, Frank takes charge.
Oh, what camera am I on? This one? Come in a little closer, Tony. Hi, I'm Frank Cross. I'm the president of this network, and I got to ask you one question.
Interior Rhinelander's den. Bolt upright in his chair, nervously sipping a drink. Preston Rhinelander glares at Frank on the TV set. It has started to snow outside.
What the hell are you doing watching television on Christmas Eve?
Rhinelander does a spit take and lunges for the phone. Interior studio.
Don't you have a family? I do. I have a brother and he's the best.
Interior James's living room. James, Wendy, and the other couples crowd around the TV watching Frank.
Hey, James. I should be there with you guys right now, not here. We could be drinking punch, telling jokes, eating mince pie. I don't know, but I should be with people I love. It's Christmas Eve.
They all cheer, startling the dog.
Tell him, Frank.
Interior studio.
No family? What about your friends? The gang you work with?
Interior Rhineland's den. Rhinelander is on the phone and Frank is on the console.
Control room, who let that idiot on the air?
College roommate, the carpool.
Interior 8H control room. Elliot is on the other end of the line holding shotgun, 1 foot up the director's chair. Frank's in the monitors.
Bryce Cummings did, sir.
Your bowling team, an old army buddy, your personal banker.
What about the phone immediately?
We pan away from Elliot to find Bryce festively trussed up in Christmas ribbon, gagged with a big bow stuck to his head.
Sorry, sir. He's tied up right now.
Bryce attempts to hop out of the room, but Elliot deftly slams his foot down on the end of Bryce's ribbon and he topples to the floor with a big crash.
Call him up and get him over there. Have a party.
Interior studio.
When I first started here, my boss gave great Christmas parties. We're going to do that again tonight. Why? Because it's Christmas Eve.
Angle on the cameraman. Sound guys, prop men, actors, technicians in the studio whooping delightedly. Angle on Frank.
Yeah, we're going to get a band down here. You grab somebody you like and dance, and you kiss them under the mistletoe. Boy, there's a girl I'd like to be with tonight.
Interior homeless shelter. Claire watches Frank on the raffle TV.
A girl I loved a long time ago.
Move in on a tight shot of Claire.
A girl I still love.
We see Frank on TV, Claire watching.
But that's the beauty of it, Claire. It's not too late. It's Christmas Eve.
Exterior shelter. It's snowing. Claire runs out into the street and hails a cab. A checker fishtails to a stop. She jumps in. Interior checker.
I have to get to the IBC building in 2 minutes.
The cabbie turns, a wide, pointy-tooth smile is slapped on his demon face.
No problem.
He punches the accelerator and the cab peels out. Interior studio.
No friends? Go make a friend. Visit a neighbor and introduce yourself. What do you think? They're going to slam the door in your face? Don't worry, I got an idea. Bake them some cookies.
Interior Dr. Rosenblum's living room. Frank, psychiatrist, sadly shakes his head as he watches Frank on TV.
Not just ordinary cookies. No. Special cookies. The ones shaped like bells and stars and little snowmen.
He came to me for help and I failed him.
Interior studio.
Then put some red and green sprinkles on top. Knock on their door and say, Merry Christmas, want a cookie? It'll work. It's Christmas Eve. Or caroling. That's a cool thing to do.
Grace, Calvin, Linnell, and Mary Lou Retton watch Frank from the floor.
Get together and sing some of those classic old Christmas songs. Deck the halls with boughs of holly, fa la la.
Interior IBC lobby guard console. The two guards harmonize loudly, their voices echoing in the marble lobby.
I'm dreaming of a white
Christmas.
Interior Grace's living room. Grandma on the Telecaster and the Cooley kids sing.
Johnny O, St. Nicholas,
St. Nicholas,
lean your ear.
Nicholas, in your ear. Interior Claire's homeless shelter. Homeless are gathered around beat up upright singing with Wild Hazel Plays.
Oh, little town of Bethlehem, how still beneath the light.
Interior Rhinelander's den. The TV is still on, but Rhinelander's chair is empty. As Frank continues to speak, we pan over to the window and the sounds of caroling outside.
Out there, wake the neighbors. It's Christmas Eve.
His arm around his wife, Preston stands looking out at the carolers who are serenading them. Exterior brownstone. We see a reverse of the carolers, a cross-section of New Yorkers with the Rhinelanders framed in their parlor floor picture window.
Draw the ancient Yuletide carol. Fa la la la
La la
la
la
la
la
la
la
la.
la la. Preston applauds. His wife beckons to them, throwing open a window.
Merry Christmas! What a cookie!
Interior studio.
There are people around you who are having a terrible Christmas. They're cold and they're hungry. Things couldn't be worse. Hey, if you're not doing anything, and you're not, you're just sitting around watching me on TV, why don't you drop by and see them? Give them a sweater, an old blanket, make them a sandwich.
Frank notices Calvin. We see Calvin staring back.
Show them you care.
Frank presses on.
Do something, for God's sake. It's Christmas Eve.
Exterior waterfront. 3 bums huddle around a fire in an oil drum during the snowstorm. Siren wailing, a cop car pulls up and hits them in the face with a searchlight.
All right, you get over here. Take this.
He shoves a bucket of Kentucky Fried Chicken at them.
Don't tell anybody where you got it.
Interior studio.
For one night, we act a little nicer, we smile a little quicker, we share a little more. For a few hours, we are the people we always hoped we would be. Isn't that amazing? It's really sort of a miracle that happens every year on Christmas Eve. Don't waste it. Get involved. Wake up.
We see Calvin, unnoticed by his mother, slip away and wander toward Frank.
Take a chance. Get out. Celebrate. It's going to be a great night. After all, it's Christmas Eve.
He notices that Calvin has come over and is standing beside him. He reaches down and Calvin shyly slips his hand in Frank's. They share a smile, and Frank turns to the TV camera.
Merry Christmas.
Calvin turns to the camera too.
And God bless us, everyone.
Grace is stunned. She bursts into tears. Linnell and Mary Lou look at each other in amazement. Frank laughs and scoops up Calvin in his arms. Grace gives them both a hug. The whole studio applauds Frank, including many persons we've seen before. The London Bobby, the Lady Censor, Prop Man 1, Prop Man 2, Holding Dormice, the nurse, Tip O'Neill, the street urchins, the carolers, the carpenters, the painters, the technicians, Wayne, Ted, the solid gold dancers, Lana, Mary Lou Retton, Mary Lou's coach, Scrooge's fiance Belle, Scrooge's nephew, Scrooge's ghost of Christmas present, Tony the cameraman, the stage manager, other IBC executives, Elliot and Marilyn Brando. Claire can barely get through them. Frank spots Claire fighting her way through all those people. He hands Calvin to Grace and Claire rushes into his arms. They kiss.
Merry Christmas, Lumpy.
Christmas. Bah, humbug.
He winks at someone high over her shoulder and kisses Claire again. We crane back up and slowly reunited lovers embracing in a pool of light, framed by a cheering throng, until we catch Lou Hayward and the 3 ghosts perched on a Victorian rooftop, smiling triumphantly. Sitting with them, now an angel with wings and crooked halo, is Herman the Wino.
And from that day forward, it was always said of him that he knew how to keep Christmas well. If anyone alive possessed the knowledge, he became a good a friend, as good a brother, a good a boss, as good a father, as the good old city knew. He worked to make the world. Men dream dreams of peace, and angels sing.
The end. Roll credits and all sing Angels We Have Heard on High.
I don't know that one.
I like how Eric did a little like what is the Max Headroom thing there at the end with his recording.
All right.